I'm Rezlar.
I'm Frosty.
As nobody's really engaged quite yet.
Yep. Oh, there we have a bit of... Oh, was that a triple stun for the Mystic?
And welcome back to the Value Pack. And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Value Pack, the number 1, 2, 3, I don't know, probably top 10 at least podcast for all of your Black Desert Online needs. We have probably the most interesting guest. No offense to our previous guests, especially Jackie Felix, because he had a lot of cool things to say, but the most interesting guest that we've had on yet today. And if you can read titles, you already know who it is. But that being said, we got to get into comments first. Thank you everybody for leaving a comment on the last episode. Although not too many people answered my question. What the hell, man? Y'all are a bunch of fucking pussies, man. Y'all don't wanna rat yourselves out with y'all's most embarrassing moment in gaming. You know, I have one moment of honesty on last episode's podcast about, you know, embarrassing gaming, and nobody wants to support me. Feels bad. Piotr didn't even comment, Frosty.
No, he's fed up.
He's fed up. He said he's going on strike. He's going on strike until we stop shitting on Archer.
Get it.
Alright, starting sort by new. Harry Boy 3000 says, my biggest mistake was in the first month of playing, selling 250 memory fragments and Beg's gloves that I got from an event box. I'm still mad about it.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all probably sold sharps and hards and memory fragments early on like idiots.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I sold so many Blackstones when I first started playing this game because I was like, I don't know if I'm really gonna enhance. And then, like, fast forward, like, 3 months later, I'm like, fuck, I need Blackstones.
Yeah.
Also, fun fact, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I'm fairly confident that I got the very first pair of Beg's gloves ever received from a bundle. Because I got it, like, you couldn't get Beg's gloves from the bundle until a little bit after the boss was out. It was like patched in later, and it was like 2 days or something after the patch where you could get them from bundles, and I got them. So pretty soon after it. So yeah, fun fact.
You probably weren't. There was probably someone with 1,000 bundles waiting for the patch.
There was probably some nerd who was like, you know, one of these days they're gonna patch this to where I can get Beg's gloves out of it. So I'll just save all 5,000 of these that I've done so far. Fucking BDO players, man. Kamikaze says, just to help you guys out, Norway is not a part of the EU, it is a part of Scandinavia, but we have a trade agreement with the EU that makes pretty much 98% of EU laws and regulations apply to us as well, so no, not a part of Asia. Oh, Frosty, you were wrong, feels bad.
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it.
He said, thanks for the thoughts. Also, Frosty, join the world of awesomeness and darkness. Become a ninja today for the cheap sum of all your pearls. On a side note, tried pretty much every class in the game at this point, played since launch, and there is really no other class that gives me such joy and satisfaction as ninja. Only problem with the class is the 200 APM you have to grind efficiently.
Yeah. It's next on my list, dude.
Yeah, as soon as they slap a pair of tits on that thing, man, he's on it. John Gee says, to the comment about players on horses, crits from matchlocks knock people off horses. So there you go, Frosty, the hard counter.
Yeah, that is not viable. Oh my god. I'm not gonna run around with a matchlock at Gahaz. I might as well not even be there.
Danny Park says, always fun just listening in as I harvest my strawberries. Glad you enjoy it, man. Harvest the shit out of those strawberries.
Yeah, dude, get those fruit of the sun. Why are you harvesting strawberries?
Small Dick Stole Your Girl says, lol, I don't hate Rezlar. Appreciate that, brother.
Well, you should.
You probably should. Good and Drunk says, next time you do community night, I'll do it from work. Hope you like the sounds of delivery vehicles and other warehouse noises in the background.
Yeah, I think that's because you said the people that didn't come out should feel bad.
I'm pretty sure that's what you said.
Oh, I know they should feel bad, but you said it out loud.
TSG Uber Gamer said, liked the episode, thought I'd finally leave a comment and answer the question. Most embarrassing thing I've done in a video game is kill someone in Smash in a tournament game that I was winning solidly, only to put down my controller to give my opponent a fist bump, and ended up killing myself during their death animation and lose.
Yikes. How is that possible, though? Like, the sequence... Like, how long was he in a death animation that you were able to put your controller... Like, what?
Well, I mean, I'm guessing, so... what probably happened, because I'm not a Smash, like, connoisseur or anything, but I've seen a lot of the game, and I've played a little bit of it. It was probably one of those situations where his opponent was super high up, like, in the air, basically, and he was falling down, like, onto the arena, and he jumped off of the arena to do, like, the final hit to his opponent to knock him out, but it wasn't one of those, like, sometimes they, like, go, like, shooting straight up into the air, straight out of the frame, and they get knocked out immediately, but sometimes they just do, like, the huge arc, and they don't get knocked out immediately. So it was probably, like, he knocked him into that arc animation, and then instead of, like, hopping back towards the arena, he just put down his controller and let his character fall, because he thought that he was, like, knocked out or whatever, you know? And he ended up going out first. I bet you that's what happened.
Nope, that doesn't sound plausible. Not for a pro, dude.
Is Uber Gamer a pro?
Yeah, dude, he said he almost got out of the round at 32 in a local tournament.
I don't think that's exactly what he said. Half of that is true. Infrax says Gaha/Fogans. Okay. Don't know what that means.
Yeah. What is that about? I need some context.
Yeah.
Maybe that's his most embarrassing moment. Maybe he gets clapped at Gahas and Fogans.
Maybe just the fact that he grinds Gahas/Fogans. I mean, that's pretty embarrassing. I mean, let's be honest. I mean...
Gahas is still super good, and Fogans got the double respawn rate this week.
Dude, if you're at Gahas instead of Polly's Forest, I don't know what you're doing with your life anymore. Ace is over easy says, heart. Appreciate it, brother.
Too. I think Ace is over easy is in Vexus.
Oh, really?
I remember. He's a mystic, yeah. Living that struggle in Siege, too.
That struggle. Sphero says, community night was a blast. Good time as always. I don't know why he said as always. This is the first time we did it.
Good time is always this anytime he hangs out with us.
Yeah, I guess. Thanks for showing up, Sphero. It was pretty fun. Got some good fights too. I still need to go through that footage, and I wanted to.
Yeah, why wasn't that on the podcast last week? I was like, what?
I don't know. I just had other stuff, so I'd put that in instead. I don't know.
For a noob tamer, I was looking pretty good, man. You got to put up my highlights.
I'm gonna pull the fights at some point. I just need to get around to doing it. I do want to pull the fights and put the fights up though, because they were actually pretty good fights. Nyashi said Frosty's comment on the Mystic stats PA gave does make sense, but buffing classes PvE will only bring people back to grinding on their favorite classes, but I don't see too much of a dramatic change to class attendance in Node Wars/Sieges. There will still be a need for individual class adjustments for PvP regardless, but I do accept that alternate viewpoint on it. Good stuff.
For sure.
I had a stroke while reading that comment. You'll have to excuse me. Jeff M says, please tell us more about the mayonnaise. Frosty, I have questions. Is the mayo pick in or out of a jar?
Dude, it would never be out of a jar. That's disgusting. All right, so imagine an all-white backdrop with like a bar stool, and on top of the bar stool is like Kraft mayonnaise. But the Kraft logo is obviously blocked out because they're not our sponsor.
Unless they want to be.
And it would be like 3 minutes and 40 seconds of just a really cool song, and you're just staring at that. My thought on it was that if that happened, people would talk about it because it'd be so fucking weird that it would just get the band's name out there. They'd be like, dude, what the fuck? Look at this video, and it's just mayonnaise.
Yeah, right.
The question is, do I use like a shaky cam or still? Like, is it someone holding a cam?
Still. You have to do still.
Okay.
Well, you might as
I don't
well
want
just
people to think it's just an image.
That's what I was about to say. You might as well just take a picture of it and then put that up.
No. It's got to be a video. So people are anticipating something else happening, and then they're like, "Wait,
no,
did I actually just watch mayonnaise for 3 minutes and 50 seconds?"
But see, I was thinking you could do the fake out where like you make them think it's a picture, and then like at the very end, it's like you do something to where you show it was a video the whole time, and it makes them go, "Did these people actually just video this mayonnaise for 3 minutes? And did I just watch them video mayonnaise for 3 minutes?" You know?
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. He also says, "It's a lute, FYI, you barbarians. Guitar, ukulele."
It's a fucking uke.
It's a fucking, it's a yeet. That's what it is. Can you tell us more about your tamer experience thus far, Frosty? How do you like its grind, and what are you pulling at Achman or Hystria with her?
I don't grind Achman, mostly because I don't have enough skill points for trample. It's good. I like it. In low end spots, or not trample, I said trample, but I meant whiplash. I have trample. Trample spam is awesome at places like Polyforest, where I just grinded a shitload this week for skill points, and it was cool. And the PvP's been awesome. As long as I don't make any mistakes, I feel like I could beat anybody. And then in Hystria, I'm like pulling like 3,000 exactly with the loot scroll. So pretty average, I guess.
How much did you pull at Sacrea yesterday? Do tell.
Next question. Dude, I am struggling in Sacrea. It's rough, man. Like, I was watching a video of a tamer with less DP than me that pulled like 3,600 trash, and he didn't get knocked down a single time in this entire loot scroll. And I swear I get knocked down basically once every rotation.
Well,
it's awful. So
maybe...
yeah, I don't even know what my trash is. I haven't been popping loot scrolls there because I still am trying to figure out how to grind it properly.
Right. Duns says, "I feel violated." Was that the mayonnaise or what? What was that related to exactly?
I don't know.
Unsure. Zodiac Master says, "Excuse me, sir. I had fun during that community night. Thank you very much, sir. And yes, I did forget the DK combo, and it was 3.1 hours.
Dude, I don't mean to put this guy on blast, but he re-rolled to DK, or to Musa from DK after that, and he sold. I can't even say it out loud. It hurts my heart.
Oh, yeah. I forgot that was him. Yeah,
he sold a Pensarka to re-roll, dude. Why?
Yeah.
Why on earth?
I mean,
no.
Questionable decisions, Zodiac. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I said this already in the Discord, but that's a big oof from me, brother. That's rough. That is very rough. But thanks everybody for leaving a comment. Make sure you leave a comment on this episode as well. I haven't thought of a question I want to ask yet, but I'll probably have it by the end of this episode. So watch all the way to the end of the episode, listen to the question, and then answer it. Damn it! I want to know you guys. I want to know you guys' answers to the questions that I ask. Otherwise, I won't ask it. If I don't ask a question, then don't answer it because there's no question to answer. That's how this works. But thanks everybody for checking it out. Moving on, we have a very, very special guest today. I talked to him, 3 weeks ago about coming on. Schedules didn't align, didn't end up working out, but it did work out this time around, so now we got him. And he's stuck here with us for the next little bit, however long he kind of wants to be here, or as long as we're going to talk. So everybody give a big welcome, everybody that's here, which is me and Frosty. Give a big welcome to TimAllen. Tim, thanks for coming on. And then here's my big welcome. That's me clapping.
Yeah. I think
Did you just clap while holding down push to talk?
I don't have push to talk. I have open mic, brother.
Oh.
Yeah.
Which is going to be a real problem because I feel a sneeze coming on. I'm going to have to mute everything at once and then sneeze and then turn it all back on.
This podcast is over if you say brother one more time.
What the hell, brother? What do you mean?
Thanks for having me on. Have a good night.
Okay, Tim. So we got a pretty decent list of things here we want to talk about, but we got to start off with talking about who you are, in case for some strange reason people don't know. I feel like most people know, but maybe someone doesn't. A lot of our listeners are newer players, and we do actually have quite a bit of EU players as well who, you know, they don't really give a shit about NA streamers and stuff like that. So why don't you tell us who you are, what you do, how long you've been playing the game, that kind of stuff, just a general introduction.
Sure. So it's TimAllen1337 on Twitch, YouTube, and Discord. Started playing this game a little over 3.5 years ago. I was trying to decide between Blade and Soul and Black Desert Online. The first character I picked up was a Sork, and I had no idea how the hell to play it. Didn't make a lot of sense. Moved over to a Warrior. It didn't have enough damage output. And then I played Blade and Soul for a little while, and I'm like, I don't really understand this game either. So I came back to try BDO one more time. My family name was Real Monka S, which I'll get back to later. But I played Meiwa, and I loved like the petals coming off the blade and stuff like that, and the combat of Meiwa, and there was, you know, balanced mobility and damage, and I wasn't, you know, fragile. I felt like I could do stuff, and I started getting into the intricacies of this game, and it was pretty cool. So I joined a Node War guild called Crack House back on we were on Orwin, and we got our feet wet into Siege once all the mergers happened with the servers. And I was an officer, and I got we later changed our name to Aftershock, and we started sieging on Balanos and stuff like that. And there's this guy called Swiper No Swiping, has a podcast on Twitch where he did like a Siege podcast. We'd all talk about what happened in Siege and all that kind of stuff, and so I was a representative for that. And then that kind of dwindled away. Or I'm sorry, it didn't dwindle away, but Lakari ended up taking it and making it his own because he didn't like the questions, supposedly, that Swiper No Swiping was asking. And so he did his own on his channel. And that's really what started me thinking about streaming, is anytime I queued down and talked, all of Lakari's chat would be, can't wait to hear Tim Al, Resident Sleeper. And his entire chat was just spammed with it. And I'm looking at this, and you know, my background is in business marketing, stuff like that. I'm going, holy shit, all these people know who I am. Like, I could start streaming. So I tell my wife, I go, hey, all these people hate me, so I gotta start streaming. And she was like, that sounds like a great idea. And it was,
she supported you when you came at her like that?
What?
She was like, you said these people hate me, so I'm gonna start streaming. And she was like, yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, because she understands. You have to understand that there's very little publicity that's bad publicity. The adage is that there is no bad publicity, but ultimately, there certainly is. So this was the good kind of bad publicity. You know, the stuff that people knew who you were and were interested or wanted to make fun of you or just watch you because they hate you, like a couple other streamers in BDO. But either way, it's a good start. Streaming for 20 people that may or may not like you is a lot better than streaming for 5.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. It got started. I was talking to my wife about this the other day where, you know, I don't remember how I powered through all those early days and stuff like that. It was really a big start from the beginning. But, you know, it was shot calling for Aftershock. And, you know, the podcast eventually fell over to my hands. And, you know, I've been dancing around and going to Xbox. And I'm just, all things BDO, I just try to get my fingers into it. Organized podcasts, Discords, and group the streamers together, and I do a lot of stuff behind the scenes, but you know, where I am now is basically just a grunt in a guild trying to get some frags on Saturday night.
Hell yeah, man, that's what it's all about. That's the BDO experience right there.
Yeah, it's nice to kind of put down the GM or officer hat and, you know, let other people worry about it so I can focus on other things.
Oh yeah, me and Frosty both understand that. Trust us. Alright, so I wanted to talk to you about this because you actually brought it up as a point. You made it clear that we could ask about it if we wanted to. It wasn't even on my radar before that, honestly, but you mentioned like partnership, being partnered with Cacao and Pearl Abyss and stuff like that. Really, I wanted to ask, like, how much... My main thing I want to ask is how much, like, communication, if any, do you get with Cacao / Pearl Abyss when you're a partner? Or is it just like they don't really give a shit? They basically throw your name on their Twitter and they're like, all right, that's it.
It's an evolving process, and it's two separate conversations, right? So we can talk about, if you want to know specifically about Kakao Games and their partnership program and the experience I've had there, is way different from what I've had at Pearl Abyss with Xbox, because Pearl Abyss is self-publishing Xbox. Oh yeah, it's a complete different team. Huh. So Kakao Games, really nothing. Interesting story. The Discord that came up, the Kakao Games Discord, and we all joined it and stuff like that. Before that existed, I actually started a Discord where I went, hey, everybody that's like a BDO partner or streams BDO in a meaningful way or anything like that, come join this Discord. And so it wasn't insanely active, but I got the guy who actually runs the partnership program at Kakao Games to join the Discord. And then if you guys remember CM Richter, he was in the Discord as well too. So we had like an unofficial Discord because these guys like weren't allowed to really be in Discord or something like that. They kind of had a weird relationship with the community, with like the chimney. If you need more CP, go, or if you need more max energy, go do chimneys. Yeah. So there was a couple of embarrassing things that they just really kind of made him pull away from the community. And so they slowly started getting their feet wet with Richter and Emre coming in and kind of communicating with us. And then I guess it was decided all at once that Pearl Abyss was going to make, coming out with Xbox, and Kakao Games, Xbox in a partnership program. So they were doing a Discord. And so Kakao Games did the same thing almost at the same time. So they do give a shit. They do talk. There is a partnership channel in that Discord, right? And so if we have questions, comments, or concerns, and oftentimes moderators will stop by and send us messages, rather, and ask for feedback. Sorry, I was distracted for a second. They'll ask us for feedback on specific things like witch and wizard buffs. Anybody who had any sort of idea or feedback on that, they were looking for that. And so I wrote up a big sweaty thing about what needed to be changed for wizard, and we saw some of those things come through. I'm sure they were popular, having Chilling Wave being viable, at least, stuff like that. So, yeah, they give a shit in a big way, but it took a while to get there. And I'm not saying, like, I had anything to do with them making a Discord or anything like that. I think it was obvious. But it was nice in those early days to go, hey, this is wrong, or this isn't working, or I think we're being DDoSed, and kind of having that direct connection with at least a couple of, I don't want to call them lower level people, but community managers and stuff to be able to get some sort of feedback on something.
Right.
But
so,
go ahead, sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, like, I've seen in the Black Spirit League Discord, a lot of times if there's some sort of bug related to, like, Arsha, because that's mostly what the BSL deals with, is, like, Arsha bugs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's, like, Dr. Positive will always, I don't know if you know Dr. Positive, but he will always be like, if somebody tells him, like, hey, by the way, this bug is really annoying, he'll be like, oh, I'll just go tell I'll go tell Kakao staff about it. And then he'll come back like 10 minutes later and be like, all right, I told them, they said they'll look into it. Is it like, can you literally just go do that?
Well, I do know Dr. Positive. I met him at SwitchCon when I was on the panel there, and he interviewed me during that 3v3 stream. And he's good friends with Good Vibes Guy. And Good Vibes Guy recently joined the community management team for Kakao Games. So he can, you can just message Good Vibes Guy and get answers for questions that are, within the realm of control. Once you understand the difference between publisher and developer and the control that they have and the issues that you're having. So if you have like a bug in the game, right, where this isn't working or somebody's falling through the ground or something like that, that's something a publisher can handle. But if you're like wizard buffs win, that's obviously a developer question. So as long as it's within that realm, you can reach out to these guys. Absolutely. There's a whole list of GMs in the Kakao Games Discord, that can really make things happen for you. If you get in a pinch or something crazy comes up, and I can't think of an example right off the top of my head, but my account was restricted or suspended pending an investigation a while ago about some crazy drama that happened, and having direct access. It was on a Saturday too, right? So the Siege and podcast and all that stuff. I got right to, the GM that I needed to talk to about what was going on and hashed it out and helped them figure out what was actually going on and stuff like that. So in a lot of games, it's hard to get that kind of direct contact or communication with anybody that matters on the publishing side or development side. So it's nice to be able to have that line of communication.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially when you're making a living off of it.
What was that whole thing about anyway? Wasn't it like something about like account sharing or something like that?
No, that was recently. This was a while ago. Somebody's naked pictures were being spread.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And somebody in Discord was just like right-click, change nickname to TimAllen 1337, Shaky Bay, fake uniform, and like a bunch of us got hit with a suspension because of it, because they were promoting that Discord that was spreading naked photos of somebody against their will in the game. So they took action because they were promoting that Discord in the game, and therefore they felt that they had probable cause, or, you know, they had the leeway to be able to suspend people's accounts for that.
Which is, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. That kind of...
It's a hotly debated topic.
Yeah, that's like my knee-jerk reaction is to be like, why the fuck are they banning people in game based on some shit that's going down in a random Discord? But I don't know. Like, it kind of makes sense. I don't know how I feel about it, honestly. But it's like, if he was promoting the Discord in game, doesn't that just like, okay, it's this guy, and then they just ban him, right?
They were very upset by it. So they took a larger action than just the person who was promoting the Discord link, and they wanted to find out who was in there participating or whatever the case is. So it was an overstep for sure, in my opinion, but not that they needed to, you know, make sure that TimAllen 1337 was actually in there participating or something like that. They needed a little more proof than just, hey, that says TimAllen 1337, we need to suspend him.
Yeah, the least they could have done is clicked on his name and checked his actual Discord name.
Well, that was my stream on Saturday. Somebody that was in that Discord sent me a link of the person who it was, and so I was exonerated because I never even knew that Discord existed.
That's crazy, man.
That was a weird day.
That's kind of crazy how, like, I don't know.
A weird day.
Like, I don't mean to, like, suggest that, like, streamers or anything get special privileges, but it's like, when you have a streamer and a partner, and it's like the fact that they didn't even, like, contact you to be like, hey, like, what the hell's going on? We're seeing these, like, screenshots of, like, supposedly you. Like, if it was, like, rando Jimmy down the street and they had, like, no way of contacting Jimmy, like, I can that would be more understandable, but it's like...
Right, then we have to suspend your account because we have no idea who Jimmy down the street is, and we need to dig into this, and we don't want this to get worse, so we suspend it. So I think it was GM Rotaz that did this. It was kind of his thing. He's one of the lead GMs there. And I don't know if he knows who the partnered streamers are. It was before the Cacao Games Discord was up and going, and so that line of communication directly to him was not necessarily set. I knew a couple other GMs and the marketing manager and stuff at Cacao previously, but, you know, there's not like a notepad pinned on their desk of who
right.
partnered streamers are, and I'm sure they rarely, if ever, watch my stream too. So, like, it took me a while. I was very upset. I was very upset for a long time, specifically at him personally. And he's had a couple other incidents, but I can say today that they've really got their shit together, honestly. The partner Discord is working really well. The lines of communication are way better. You know, we know when things are coming through a little early. They're still working on getting they've planned some events, and they just haven't come to fruition, but I know the people that work on that, and they're trying real hard, and it's difficult when you don't know what's coming down the pipeline as far as patches are concerned. Patches just kind of come through on a Monday or a Tuesday, and from what I understand, maybe Pearl Abyss doesn't give them 100% of the information 100% of the time, so sometimes there's a little surprise in there or something like that, or a last-second addition, you know, in translation and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, that's why when people get mad at Cacao Games, sometimes I white knight them a little bit, because sometimes they're just a victim, you know, in the same way that we are. Just something came through, unexpected consequences. Now we have to adapt.
And I think, like, for as far back as I can remember, people have always said, like, listen, there's no doubt that some shit that goes down is Cacao's fault, but a lot of it is PA's and, like, the shit that they do. So there's always been, like, this idea that, like, Yeah, sometimes it is Cacao fault, and we should apply blame where blame needs to be applied, but that goes both ways. It's not always their fault. So, I'm curious now, what would you say you were more pissed off about whenever your account was banned by Rotas, or when you were kicked from the Siege podcast by Lakari?
Yeah, that's a good one, dude. Dude, I felt so bad for you that day.
I did too.
I like watched that clip and I just saw like the disdain on your face, and I was like, oh man.
Okay, so I don't think I've really talked about this before, but my problem was I shook Lakari's hand at TwitchCon. Looked him in the eye, met him, said hi to him, thanked him for the podcast, Discord, all that stuff, because it really helped make my stream. And I was extremely disappointed that he was willing to cave into hands goading him on to ban me from the Discord. And I have a great admin team on the Discord. And so they're able to maintain control and get me back in there and continue it. But ultimately, it means to an end to get me to create my own podcast Discord. And even since I stepped away from the podcast for a little while, I was still able to maintain ownership and control of it and oversee it. Because I don't think anybody else really wants to do that. B, we have enough people that are admins from different guilds to make sure it's run fairly. I don't think there's a C. Nobody else really wants to do it. And I was looking pretty hard when I was going to Xbox because I didn't want to abandon it, right? Zathian was the only other person I could think of that would even entertain it, and so he did it for a week. He really liked it. He had some good ideas. And so I passed it off to him, but ultimately he wanted to spend more time with his family and with his guild. And so I was back to trying to figure out who the hell else could do it. And really I couldn't think of anybody, and nobody really put their name in besides myself, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually heard that because he took over the podcast, him not focusing on PvP, that Snake hasn't been able to get Medaya back.
Savage.
That's a low blow, dude.
Dude, Haste is over there now, man.
I got a question about the new Siege podcast Discord, Tim.
Okay.
How come I got kicked from it, man? What the hell? I was just sitting there lurking, enjoying the memes and shit, and then one day I don't have access to it anymore. What the hell happened?
What guild are you with? Or were with?
I was with Versatile, but then I left the guild, but I didn't say anything, nor did, my other guild, my GM, or my ex-GM, rather, my friend Mina. He didn't say anything, so it was cool, I just get to, sit here and lurk and look at memes and people read each other and stuff. And then one day I was like, you know what, I haven't been added by Sullysaurus Rex in the podcast Discord in a while, maybe I should take a look. And I couldn't find it on my sidebar. I was like, where's my BDO podcast Discord?
So we have it's kind of a constant conversation, a back and forth of, do we make it a public Discord and then we have private channels, or how many people do we really invite? And so one of the big problems that we had moderating the last podcast Discord was it was extremely public, and people just want to push buttons, and use racial slurs and stuff like that. And ultimately we decided that none of us really want to babysit a Discord. And the second that you kick somebody for using a racial slur, then 3 more pop up or 6 more pop up. It's whack-a-mole.
Right.
And so if we just have responsible people that are attached to active Siege guilds participating, the memes are great and nothing gets in the way, and there's almost no moderation at this point whatsoever. Everybody knows what it is, they're happy to have it, and they respect it. Once you start bringing in a bunch of fuckboys, it turns into exactly what it was, and that's what we don't want. We reevaluated that with Zethian coming in as the host, because the host pretty much runs the damn thing, right? And I wanted to keep it like that. And so we really wanted to challenge that, but after a lengthy debate, we decided that we could let more people in per Siege guild, but once somebody was not active for a certain amount of weeks, depending on how long they had been active in the Siege scene, that we would likely just remove them unless they've been somebody who's been active in the community for years or something like that. So it's a little bit of a gray area, but Versatile didn't really Siege very much, and then they were gone or whatever. So we cleaned house on a couple different guilds at the same time.
Yeah, for sure.
Tim, if I may, in short, Rez, because you're in Clash.
Oh,
All right, next question.
Dude, Clash is like number 3 Siege Guild, and hey, we killed Cho the other day. Come on, man, give us credit. We beat Cho on a 30-man node with 2 other guilds, but we won't talk about that part, you know? We beat Cho. Yeah, well, we had this further down the list, but I guess we've already talked so much about it. I'm just gonna move this up in my little list of things. The Siege podcast, I wanted to talk about that and how you think it has changed over time, and if you think it's changed for like the better, like if you want it to keep changing, like that kind of stuff. Like what are your feelings on it and like how it is?
I might be a little too close to the trees to see the forest on this as a whole, but I certainly had some time for reflection when I stepped away from it and passed it off to Zethian. And I think there's 3, really maybe 4 different chapters of the Siege podcast, if you will, where first it was Swiper No Swiping, who really didn't understand the NACH. No disrespect, Swiper. And that kind of pissed off too many key people in the NA Siege scene, right? So it went off to Lucari. And Lucari's podcast was nothing short of an extension of his own stream. It wasn't really for the community. It was him and Vigor just yelling at each other, right? And then, and then when I'm in a situation where people are yelling, I want to yell too. Yelling's fun. So I just started yelling along with them. And so I think that was the first real chapter of the NA Siege podcast Discord. And then the second chapter would be me taking it over, resurrecting it, really, because it was gone for a little over a month before I started doing it. I just messaged Lucari. I was like, hey, can I have the Discord? And he goes, yep. So it was that easy. He said on stream not too long ago that if somebody else had messaged him and asked him, I was just the first, that they would have had it. So
yeah. But,
again, I don't think anybody wanted it.
I was thinking, technically, before Swiper did it, technically, wasn't there like it wasn't a Siege podcast. It was just a regular BDO podcast that had like a Siege element to it. Maybe. Wasn't that actually where it first started? And then Swiper started doing like his own version of it that it was just Siege, basically.
You'd have to ask him. I don't know. I don't recall.
It doesn't have a title. It didn't exist.
I vaguely remember it. No, 'cause the reason I'm thinking about it is because I can't remember what it was called. It was like the Black Spirit podcast or something like that. I can't remember.
But so, it took me a while to figure out how to host a podcast like this. There was always a big meme about me being biased and stuff like that. What people didn't realize is that I was equally biased against. There's things that Siege guilds do that I'm biased against. Right? When you go back on your word, when you call somebody shit and then you go and do that, hypocrisy kind of thing. And what really got me is I had too good of a memory with some of this stuff. And then maybe I didn't have the respect of my peers either at the same time. And so once I joined Blackrose, that made it a little more difficult because Blackrose kind of had their own thoughts on, what should be done in the podcast Discord, and I wasn't really interested in taking that in because I was finally getting a handle on how to create some sort of controversy or, point things out that weren't maybe not be obvious because, I played the politics game and I know who these people are for a long time. And so I get to call this stuff out because I know how it works and I know what they're doing. And so, kind of as that started moving forward, from Blackrose and I started finding, my own way, I feel like everybody kind of appreciates when, like last week, Man Up versus Barcode, where Barcode pretty much just said, fuck you, Man Up, and kept the second week of Valencia. I don't know if Zethian was hosting that, if that really would have fleshed out as well as it did previously, or as well as it did with me doing it. And so I feel like that's what I really add to the podcast is I like that stuff. I want to dig in. I don't want to just let two people talk it out because sometimes they won't, so that's how I feel it's really evolved is maybe I was a little biased or maybe I just had too good of a memory. And then as I started getting a little better at it, I figured out how to flesh out the conflict and in a way that doesn't piss anybody off.
Right. So I actually did a search and I found this, and I'm pretty sure this is what I was thinking of. And the reason I remembered it, Frosty, was because it was Aki. It was Aki and a bunch of his friends that did it. And I'm pretty sure this.
Oh,
I'm
look
like
at that.
I'm like 95% sure this was before Swiper started doing it. Basically, they had their own little podcast, and when they first started off, it's called the BDO podcast from the Baffling Black Spirit. And they basically had their own podcast, and Siege was a part of it. But then, like, as they got into later episodes, people just said, oh, we want more, like, Siege, like, people shitting on each other, basically. So that's essentially, like, just what it became. And,
Look at Moreland TV in there as a barcode PR person.
I know, right? Like, what the hell?
With the same Discord icon he has today.
Even Orca's in there. If you go to the end of it, you see Orca in there, barcode GM. So when was this uploaded? January 22nd, 2017. Over 2 years ago. I'm pretty sure this is before Swiper, so I think this was actually like the very first. This was like basically the rough draft, right? Of like what a Siege podcast like would be. And then Swiper took it, refined it a little bit, made it only about the Siege stuff. And then he started doing it, but he was EU, so he didn't know shit about NA. And then that's when Lakari started doing it, which, like you were saying, was the first real like NA Siege podcast type thing. But yeah, history lesson. Isn't that fun?
It is.
Let's see. Yeah, I think that was basically it. The only two things I wanted to ask is, your opinions on the podcast and why I got kicked from it. So I think we're good.
Well, you're back full time to hosting the podcast, and it's going to be like that for a while, or?
Yeah, so it'll tie into when we start talking about Xbox a little bit. So when we move on to that, it'll all make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But
so
yes,
my question,
I am back to full-time PC streaming and the podcast.
My follow-up question is, are you going to start doing... So I didn't listen to the Siege too much unless I was like involved in some capacity, but
Sure.
One thing I did read every week that you started doing, I don't know, maybe like 3 months before it switched over to Zethian, is the write-ups that you were doing. Are you guys going to start doing those again? Like you did in like the post-Siege write-up?
Yeah, those were super like useful. That was awesome. I would read those literally like every Monday. I was I want to know what happened.
Guys. Here's the problem. As I do this podcast, and it helps viewership, which helps streams, and it's exposure to some extent. But I'm not getting flooded with donations, bits, or subs because of it, right? It's just kind of a thing that happens to happen on my channel, which is fine. I enjoy doing it. It's because I love the game, I've realized. And if other people want to stream it, they're welcome to do so and stuff like that. The last thing I want to do is more pro bono work for the Siege scene. And a Reddit post does not do anything for me besides take 1 to 2 hours of combing back through my VOD, remembering what happened, writing it up, checking all the...
Can't get Lakari to write it?
Jeez, no. Lakari's right
Sorry,
above
my push
it
to talk button failed for a second. And spend all this time regurgitating all the streams so people can read it. And I got good feedback on it, but I can't pay my electric bill with good feedback. So I just didn't see a return on investment for additional time dedicating to the Siege scene. I was working on something with Cacao Games that I never really heard back on, and it was when Seam Richter was still with Cacao Games that I may bring back up. Not a way to monetize it necessarily, but a way that would probably be mutually beneficial to Cacao Games and TimAllen 1337's channels. So they may come back, but if they came back, they'd need to be in official capacity, or else it really wouldn't make sense for me to do it.
Doesn't BDO either South America, I think? I'm pretty sure it's South America. Doesn't their publisher like make little like clips of like all the shit that went down in Siege? Like with like the guild names and shit? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah,
there is, I think it's South America or it's one of them do that. And there's actually a really funny clip of Pearl Abyss talking about doing that for Xbox. And I was co-streaming their stream when they were talking about it. And I like zoomed in on my face and started screaming that they were going to steal my content. Ultimately, I just don't think most of these teams have the manpower or the time to dedicate to stuff like that. And I think the NA Siege scene without the podcast would probably be a little bit more difficult for them to keep in touch with it. So I know that for a fact that those Reddit posts helped out Cacao Games too, and I'd like to keep doing it, but again, it's just got to make sense for me.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. I do wish that I had those back because it was a really nice TLDR, but I can understand that the requirement of like, well, this actually isn't like doing anything for me, and I can spend more time like with my family, with my guild, or like streaming to make actual money. So
yeah,
I'd rather
I have to do it on
instead.
a Sunday. It's like my one real super day off. Like I don't even really go to Vel. Like I really just after Saturday night, I'm spent. Siege, probably shot calling, the podcast, and then hanging out after the podcast. Everybody likes to shit talk each other, and then let's wake up the next day. Like I need a day off. So that's Sunday, and it's hard for me to pull it together again to spend a couple hours regurgitating Saturday.
Right. So let's transition into Xbox, because you straight up yeeted off of PC to Xbox whenever that shit came out. You were like, fuck this shit, I'm out. Peace out. And then here you are back on PC now. So let's, while we're talking about the Siege podcast, let's talk about that first. So whenever you went to Xbox, you said you wanted to do a Siege podcast for Xbox.
Yeah.
What was the thought process there, and what was going on?
Well, so I wanted to transfer my success from. I thought that we'd be breaking open to a whole new section of people on Twitch or YouTube or whatever the case is, and I was right about YouTube. My YouTube channel is arguably more successful than my Twitch channel is, quite frankly, because of the guides that I put out for Xbox and using Xbox. But I'm sorry, what was the question again? I got so much ran through my head.
Whenever you find it, whenever you said like you wanted to do the Siege podcast on Xbox.
Right. So I wanted to transfer my success from PC to Xbox, but I think what I really misjudged was the lack of PC players that were going to be over on Xbox, and how virgin is the wrong word, but virgin to MMOs, right? They're just super new.
Oh, yeah.
And so they just don't get a lot of the stuff that experienced PC players, find a PC player who didn't play WoW, or EverQuest, or EverQuest 2, or Ashes of Creation, or whatever, like find a PC player that hasn't dipped their toe in MMOs, right? So they didn't really, or don't really understand the culture, in my opinion, of how things work. They didn't understand BDO as a whole, and why a podcast is necessary, or why we talk about Siege. They didn't even really understand why they should ally together on Saturday so they can beat, a stronger opponent. And so they were just so far out in left field. It was difficult to create that drama and that content around Saturday, even though I had a lot of support, both officially and unofficially, to get that done. Ultimately, it was just fucking boring.
Hey, and if it's boring, who the fuck's gonna watch it, right?
Yeah, they've got a long way to go. I think Xbox will be successful in an average gamer's sense of being successful, not necessarily as a business kind of thing, which it definitely is. But for somebody to go, yeah, I would download that game and play it. It'll be successful, and it'll start looking more like PC. I think it's going to take a lot more time than, I don't want to put words in anybody else's mouth, but I think it's going to take a lot more time for it to look like PC, especially on Saturday, than I had any idea, or just way far and above.
Interesting. So what made you jump ship from PC to Xbox? Like, why did you want to do that?
I think I needed a break from the PC community. I felt a little undervalued, and I was getting fucked with pretty often when I was grinding and stuff like that. I was having a tough time finding a stable guild. I was kind of out of guilds to join, quite frankly. I wasn't really getting along, and I was a little burnt out. I needed a break. And so I think I took just long enough of a break for, people on PC to miss me. and to kind of realize that I got a lot of messages from a couple of very specific guilds, really wanting me back into the podcast and the Siege scene and streaming PC. And so the outpour of support to come back was big, but I hated everybody when I left. I really just put my middle finger up and walked away, and I didn't log on. My PC was off for weeks, unless I was streaming, and that was it. It was just OBS up. I wasn't on Steam. I wasn't on BDO. I was barely on Discord, unless I was with my Xbox guild or whatever. And so basically, my gaming PC turned into a stream PC for my Xbox for a while. I just, like you said, yeeted the fuck out. I was just gone, dude.
Yeah. So what was you already talked a little bit about it, but what was it like on the Xbox? Like, what was it like starting over? I believe you guys, like, the Xbox didn't even have not Calpheon, fucking Medaya, right?
Yeah, so we were without Medaya for 2 months, roughly. It was interesting. I started playing when Meiwa released, but I was, had Meiwa seals or whatever on PC. So it was part of the game that I wasn't familiar with. Honestly, I had one of the most fun streams during the release of BDO when Blade Boquest, Moreland TV, and I got together and leveled together at 4 a.m. or whatever it was when it released. We had a great time doing that. So made some good relationships and better friendships that I already had. Strengthened those. But playing the game and starting over sounds like fun until you start going for try.
Yeah, until you hit that wall again.
Plus 15's cool, that wasn't too terrible, but, just having to gather for hards and sharps, and that's what you have to wait on, was pretty rough. But they gave us good events that kind of balanced it out, and so, like, magic tools on Xbox are like 400,000, and they sit on the market.
Really?
And so, yeah, if you have 200 or 300 energy or something, which is pretty average right now, 250, I would say, you can really crank out, some hards and sharps. And they have, weekend experience 24/7. There's no 200% buff or anything like that. So there's a lot of quality of life things that are in there now. They have Valencia, they have Awakenings, they have Absolutes, but they don't have all the classes, which is kind of weird. What was the weirdest part of this game, right? So I'm playing Wizard on Xbox and PC. And so I'm a pre-awakened Wizard with Absolutes, and Strikers are in the game. So I have no super armor. Right? I've got Meteor, and I've got Earthquake, and I have Frigid fucking Fog.
Wait, pre-awakened Striker? That's really funny.
Yeah, and so pre-awakened Striker has, let's see, Mass Destruction, their Ground Slam, whatever that is, Rage Hammer.
Rage Hammer.
They have Twisted Collision, which is a frontal guard into both of those little spinny in the air invol frame super armor things.
Nimbus Strike as well.
So they've got full combinations. I played Striker for a long time. I know how to weave all those skills together. And then they have one of the best grabs, out of the pre-awaken kits of the classes that were out. So I cast Lightning and hope that I catch you in a one tiny frame between your dashes when you come up and just walk up to grab me. It's awful. And so the absolute skills gave him so much damage. I kept trying to tell people to take the Kamehameha, whatever that skill's called. If you do 3 Martial Shards into Crouching Tiger, and then you do your little Kamehameha, it powers it up, and nobody would listen to me on Xbox. I only told my guild, but they didn't want to put the points into that. But so all those strikers were ooking out, but they were doing it so bad, and it just hurt my feelings because I'm dying to the worst striker in the world. They just knock you down and roaring tiger you, absolute roaring tiger you, and that was it. You were just dead. And my absolutes didn't matter whatsoever on which wizard.
Yeah, what was the so you played PC for a long time, you played Xbox for a little while. How was like the skill difference, or like not necessarily skill difference, like the how much did the different controls like change things?
So the hardest thing wasn't necessarily the buttons or the commands or something like that. Striker had some weird ones. I know their somersault is not conducive, we'll say. And so there's some awkward key combinations on the Xbox controller, but really my big thing is I can't zoom out. So with Awakenings and DK, like what's that, Shattering Darkness or something that has just a mile range, like you can't see that coming. You can't see it coming. If it's off to the side or behind you, you just get destroyed from a mile away.
Oh, just wait till they get Archer.
And if you right, and then if you're a Musa and you're trying to zoop up to somebody and then spin around at the last second and back attack them, you have to play with 100% sensitivity on your thumbstick. So the thumbstick thing for looking around and the ability to zoom out, which they're working on the latter. Obviously you can't get around looking with a thumbstick, but I knew it'd be different. It'd be a different challenge, but swapping back and forth was fine. But the key combinations were okay. The looking around sucked. The amount you can zoom out really sucks, and not having a keyboard filled with hotkeys really sucks. So you have to use these ring menus, and they work. But if I'm trying to go through my wizard buffs real quick, and then E buff PA double teleport in. It's just not, it's a PC game. This is a PC game that people who don't have gaming PCs can now play. But I would say if you have a PC that can play BDO, play it on PC.
Yeah, there's been quite a few people I've seen recently that say like, yo, I used to play BDO on Xbox, but now I'm coming to PC. Yeah. So there seems to be a bit of a migration from Xbox to PC.
One of the biggest challenges, if I can dig in on why I left Xbox here for a little bit, is Guildmasters are terrible on Xbox. They make bad decisions. They're arrogant. They don't know how to deal with victory. They have no structure whatsoever. None of them have any spreadsheets. They don't know who's in their guild. They don't work with anybody else. They don't set up fights. They think that you should just like place on a node and go, YOLO, whatever. And so they don't understand how this game works, and they're extremely resistant to it. And the second you put somebody on Balanos, there's only Balanos and Serendia. Actually, today's the first day Calpheon Siege is going to happen. And they just fall apart. You give them Balanos, and the guild is dead the next day, or the next week. And so that's what's, in my opinion, really holding it back, is these people that decide that they want to run guilds really aren't qualified in any way, shape, or form. And so we saw constant GM swaps. We saw bad mergers, and it was just spinning tires the entire time. And so I was in Arsha and helped shape that guild in the culture there. And that guild will be fine for a long time. And we have a good setup with Moreland TV having the GM ship, and then a different player who wasn't a PC player is like the final say. And so we just thought it out, how do we make this guild last, in a new MMO when we know guilds are going to blow up and die and stuff all the time. And I think they did a really good job, or we did a really good job with it. But ultimately, it just wasn't fun. Like I'm grinding out 6 billion silver, which I've never amassed that amount of silver. I'm always enhancing. As soon as I have 1 bill, I'm like, let's buy shit and enhance. And so I'm working towards having 277, 273 AP, and I'm having fun with it because I want to participate and kill more people and all that kind of stuff on Saturdays. I couldn't get myself to get to level 60 on Xbox because why? So I can kill who? So I can kill the node fort a little bit faster? I don't give a shit. There wasn't enough competition to make it rewarding to grind it out. I got bored, and even though the stream was doing well and the Xbox content on my YouTube was doing extremely well, ultimately it was going to, if I'm bored doing something, it's going to catch up. You guys are going to be able to see it, just on my face.
Right.
And it might be fun to see me being bored for a while, but then ultimately you want to watch somebody who's having fun. I think I would. I try to create a stream that I want to watch, so.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder if there's almost no denying that people that play consoles are more casual compared to people that play
No. They're not worse. Yes. They're not more casual.
No. I didn't say worse. I didn't say worse. Hold on.
Let me talk about this. So that excuse me, that's the whole thing that I got. Oh, these 12-year-olds living in their mom's basement.
No, absolutely
don't have any
not.
money to buy pearls, and they're worse, and they're casual, and all that. I heard all that shit, right? Here's your average Xbox player, in my opinion. Ex-military, well-established, likely mid-30s, early 30s, late 20s, that, 27 to 33 in age. Coming out of the military, has lots of fuck you money. The average pay-to-win. Remember the day where we could melt our costumes into crowns or into crons and everybody melted their shit and everybody was going for pen all the time?
Yeah.
That's like an average weekday or weekend day on Xbox. These people have money to burn on Xbox. They have money to burn, and they throw it out in streams, and they buy costumes constantly. There's so much gear on Xbox. And so these guys are older. They're, a lot of ex-military. They're family-oriented, all that kind of stuff. There's almost no, I ran into like one squeaker the entire time. And so these guys are out there grinding. There's level 61s before Awakenings came out. Like, it was nuts. Not PC players either. Like, just hardcore players.
Right. But so what I mean by casual, like, I don't mean that in like a derogatory term or anything like that. And I'm not even referring to like the amount of time they put into the game or anything like that. What I'm referring to when I speak like casual is like they don't take the game like seriously, like as seriously as a lot of people on PC do. Right, you got PC players like literally running tests and recording things on spreadsheets over the course of several months to figure out what's better between this crystal and this crystal, right? And like that is a very PC thing to do.
See, I disagree so much with that. I don't think that Xbox players wouldn't be doing that if the information was already out there. That's the thing.
I just don't. I think
there's so many Xbox games where people actually do that. Like even a lot of the stuff that was discovered in, I don't know, a bunch of old games that are also on PC is discovered on console. And like, I don't know. Like, I just don't. I don't buy into that at all.
I mean,
I don't even think. Yeah, sorry.
I'm not saying that like those people don't exist on console. What I'm saying is that I feel like there are definitely a lot more of those types of people that like really take this shit seriously, probably a bit too seriously on PC as compared to your average like console player.
Well, this is what you have to consider. Console's been out for 3 months, where PC's been out for over 3 years. And so what crystal is the best crystal? It's the Black Spirit crystal for PvP, the Awakened Black Spirit crystal. And for PvE, it's +1 crit. And so there's enough PC players out there to just go, well, with these crystals out, like we just don't have all of this other stuff. It's really obvious. We don't need these spreadsheets. And then we can still pull from PC's knowledge too. Because sometimes there's a small amount of like, I don't know if this made it into Xbox, but we're kind of over that. It's basically 99% PC build with very, very different few changes to it. So anything that's kind of canon on PC is canon on Xbox. And so the spreadsheets have kind of been done. We don't have everything that PC has as far as content's concerned. So it's a little easier to see. It's obvious what's best in most cases. And so that culture just isn't necessary yet.
Yeah, I suppose that could be the case. But my question is like, so if people are like, basically what I'm getting to is that people on consoles, I feel personally, like people that play games on consoles, not just BDO, but it does include BDO, a lot of times they're playing it just to have fun. They don't really care about being the best. And I think that speaks a lot to your talk earlier about like competitiveness and like they don't really care about like grouping together to fight the strongest guild. Like they're just there to place on a node and let their people just run around, do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
I really think that is indicative of a mindset difference between your average person on PC and your average person playing games on a console. Frosty?
I'm sorry, I have to interject. Dude, first of all, League of Legends exists where there's millions of people that are in silver, that know they're going to be in silver forever, that know they're never going to be able to compete and just want to have fun. That's literally like PC as well. That's not even different from console to PC in any way. Well, what's the difference between like a silver or bronze league player that plays every day and knows they're not going to be pro, that's just playing to have fun, versus like an Xbox player?
Every silver player thinks they're going to be pro, man. Come on.
I mean, I know I'm going to be pro one day. I mean, come on. No, I see what you're saying, and like I said, like there's definitely like there's every people doing everything, right? Like, but I'm speaking more specifically towards like I think there are a lot more games available on PC, and you know they're less available, although there's some are like BDO on console, where like shit just gets taken more seriously. Like BDO is an example. Most MMOs I think are an example of like this is shit that a lot of people take very, very seriously.
Most it's just
of
time.
Yeah,
it's just time. It just needs more time. That's all.
Most of it is available only on PC, although we're starting to see more and more like MMOs come out on console as well. And so I think that I don't know. I see what you're saying, Frosty, and like there definitely are people on both sides of console and PC that are on both sides of like I take this like really seriously, and this is what I like to do, and this is all I like to do, and you know that kind of mindset. And then they like, you know, I'm just fucking around. I don't really give a shit. Like, you know, whatever. Like that kind of mindset. They're on both sides. Like, definitely, for sure.
There's nutty extremes on both sides, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I don't know if I would call the more casual players nutty. I'd call them normal. I think...
No. I just meant the people that test stuff and go crazy, like big and shiny types.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's only one big and shiny.
Fuck, I went on this for so long I forgot what I was going to say. I think it was something to the effect of I wonder if they'll ever get like serious on Xbox. Like if their like culture, like you said, will ever grow to be like ours, you know? Where like it is taken super seriously, and they do have a Siege podcast where they talk shit to each other for 3 hours. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Will they ever have a top tier pro esports division like us?
Yeah, dude.
I think one of the biggest mistakes Pearl Abyss made was not releasing Calpheon Castle earlier. If they had released Calpheon Castle earlier, or maybe even all of the castles, I would have been much more interested in staying with Xbox. But Balanos and Serendia aren't a prize. They're just not. In any way, shape, or form. And in that early in the game, with that little market activity, you're getting 2 to 3 bill for a territory, you know, which is... I think my best payout was 80 mil or something like that, which isn't nothing, but you know, when you have the duo yellow drops and the Tet blue drops from day one, you know, for accessories, there was just the average money was just way higher than, you know, when we were in that point of the game. And so now that there's going to be a castle buff and something to fight over, even though it's just Calpheon, Witch's Earrings still sell for quite a bit, and it's there's a lot of relics I can drop out of there, and everybody needs memory fragments. So it's a prize. It's something that will make people want to team up together or rotate it or whatever the case is, where before it's just like, fuck it, whoever wins, wins. And so the game's going to be around a long time. I understand they didn't want to rush stuff, and they wanted to make sure that they had clean releases of content and stuff like that, but every single patch that came out that didn't have... There's no pings. I was a shot caller in Xbox, right?
There's no pings?
Guild pings. There's no guild pings.
Oh, no.
Ooh, that's rough. Yeah.
PC doesn't even know how good of a fucking shot caller I am now, because I did it without being able to fucking see or ping.
Because you're all zoomed in.
And these Xbox kids have no idea what northeast, south, or west is. And so I'm like, we're going north. We're going up. We're going by this hill. You know, that's why I have an emote in my stream. This is my rock, because I just needed a landmark for people to gravitate towards. And so I could we're all looking in this direction. All right, everybody head left or split around over here. You know, something that was extremely visual for these guys, because it was difficult. It was very difficult.
Yeah, for sure. I gotta say, saying Balanos and Serendia isn't a prize. That's gotta be rough for the ex-GM of Aftershock who was on Balanos for so long.
Well, so it means there's ways to make Balanos a prize, but it requires Calpheon, and I'm not going to give any trade secrets away here. But when only Balanos and Serendia are there, and they're only worth 2 bill, it's not worth anything. Now in PC, when there was all these siege guilds, and whoever's name was on the territory got this huge influx of recruitment, and you know, even though we have a successful siege podcast, we're still only reaching maybe, I don't know, a tenth or a 20th of the competitive population week after week. So somebody who's tired of their Node War guild and wants to join a Siege guild, they just hit M and go, oh, Aftershock's on Balanos, they must be doing really well. And so that's what a big part of owning the territory was, and that's why we gave it to Hikamori so many times, is their guild died like every other week. And so they were one of the top receivers of territories, because Adam would keep coming to me and just going, hey, if we don't get Balanos, I think my guild's going to fucking die.
Frosty, anything to add to that?
No, I hear they're changing things up in Hiki. They're about to get a new GM if they haven't already. It's like,
yeah, they have a new GM, but as long as Adam is the community manager or whatever, I don't think it's ever really going to change that much.
Okay, yeah, what is your relationship with Adam, Tim? Do tell, because I've seen some I've heard some things. I've seen there's been some fan art put out between you two. I've seen some shit,
We were pretty good friends when I finally convinced him to work with us and start an alliance, and we had a really good run. But ultimately, towards the end, he started backstabbing and being extremely shisty and lying and stuff like that, withholding information, etc., doing stuff without doing things that he knew I didn't want him to do. Like, we agreed we're not going to do this, and then he just went, oh, I'm going to do this anyway. I'd wake up at 10 in the morning or something, and everything had changed for the siege. I'm speaking specifically about the time I took Medaya and put Snake back on Medaya. He changed around the details of it when he didn't really understand why I was doing what I was doing. So instead of asking, he just changed it. And so I really had a tough time with that. I don't like being lied to, just like anybody else, especially with somebody that I trust and liked. And so I just wrote him off. And I hate seeing his name in the world chat, and I hate seeing Hikamori all together. I know it's a better guild, and they've got a good community over there, and things are different. I understand all that, but it just reminds me of this friend that I had that turned out to be just a real pile of shit.
Feels bad.
To put it lightly.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Do you want an honest answer now? Would you like to know how I really feel?
Another person that I know you just enjoy to the fullest? What do you give me your thoughts on Wish Fairy?
Oh, I don't have a problem with Wish Fairy. Wish Fairy's got a thing about him. He pulled it the other week where he bluffs all the time when you're his opponent. He tries to get his way, right? I think the week before he was like, don't bring any mercs. And then XD or whoever was like, I'm going to bring mercs. And he goes, well, if you bring mercs, I'm going to bring another guild. And that's his go-to kind of thing. His go-to bluff is, I'm going to bring another guild if you don't fight this fight exactly the way I want to. And then when that guild doesn't show up, he goes, well, I wanted to honor the original deal, or whatever the case is. So I don't have a problem with Wish Fairy or him paying pearls for people to be in his guild or anything like that. It was when I was going on about Wish Fairy, it was Trap Alliance versus Kyokai Alliance, right? And so being able to put out all that bad PR about him was, that's all it was. It was just marketing, right? So I wanted them to know that Kyokai couldn't actually ever beat Trap Alliance. They needed another guild, and they needed to keep paying these people to come into their guild. WTF Blue got pearls all the time to merc for Kyokai. And so it wasn't just a rumor, it was corroborated. And so I put it out there, and I think it was successful overall. I'm sure a couple of boys, the high-end boys were like, hey, I could get pearls for mercing here? Hell yeah. So I'm sure it worked against me a little bit. But overall, I feel like it helped my recruitment and it fit my culture at Aftershock. And the people that wanted to defeat that or something, you know what I mean? It created some sort of enemy and a little bit of a marching order. And, we got to kill these kids that pay money to try to kill us. And, made it fun. So I don't have a problem with Wish Fairy.
I'm going to be honest. I think Wish Fairy is probably my favorite part of the Siege podcast, when he says something and he gets interrupted. And so he just goes,
yeah.
Just waiting for a chance to talk, dude. It gets me every time, dude.
So is there any chance of an Aftershock resurrection?
Yeah. There's definitely a chance of it. That was actually my plan. So when Sethian walks away from the podcast, I can't do 2 podcasts. I can't do 2 sieges, right? They're both on Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern. And so I go, actually Blackrose, some Blackrose members, officers were messaging me, Sasha actually too, saying this would be the time to get Aftershock back up and going. I think the biggest thing that prevented me from doing that is I don't have access to the original guild. I gave it back to the person who started the community. And so he's got all the elephants and the guild skills and all that kind of stuff. So I'd have to start from scratch or find somebody that has a guild that could toss it over to me or whatever. But I just hit my buddy Messi, has been a long time moderator and all this stuff. I just hit him up. I was like, hey, you guys, I know Vertex is like rebuilding. You got a spot for me? And they just go, oh, yeah, absolutely. So I just got in, and there's like 10x Aftershock members in Vertex. And, there's some opportunity there to, when I back up shot call or whatever, like I don't get yelled at or ridiculed or anything. It's appreciated. So I like it here. I'm doing well. And so I think this is the only situation where I would have been not in Aftershock. So if something happens to Vertex, then that's a strong possibility of me getting that back together. It's going to take time. Right. But, I have Aftershock, the guild name, on my Steam account. So I just joined it. It's my main account as an officer for a while, so I can merc out for Saturdays and slowly start building up a siege guild and guild skills and all that stuff, and definitely possible.
So, do you think? So you GM'd for a long time. You've gone through the building up, get to siege, lose members. You're out of siege, build up, gets the back and forth. Do you think without your reputation, if you were starting from scratch, starting a new guild, even if you knew kind of the things you knew now, like how to run a guild, do you think it's possible to get to siege starting from scratch? And if you do get to siege, is it possible to break into the top 5 or 6 for a newer guild today, or not? Is that even a possibility?
I think if you take a look at a guild like Filter, they're not necessarily new, but their power is new. And I think guilds like that have the greatest opportunity to break into the top 5. Not that they could, because if you look at their pushes, I was watching them fight against Show and stuff a couple weeks ago. Pushes were dog shit, right? You can tell just by the way they move together that they have organizational issues top to bottom. But if they have the structure to create a successful guild, they took powerhouses from Man Up, I think a couple of Cho.
Which guild is this?
Haste. This is Filter.
Filter, yeah, okay.
They have Onyx Ace in there.
Yeah, they've got all the heavy hitters except for Mostar, which is the best mystic I've ever seen in large scale. He's still in Haste, I believe, but CP, and all these other guys that just top frag are in Filter, and so they've got all this That was the hardest thing for me in Aftershock. Was these guilds would break up, and I never got a chance of these people joining me. I never got a chance, and every time I had a top fragger or somebody who was really good at the game, and we're ready about to move into castle sieges finally and all this kind of stuff, they go, hey, I'm gonna go join Vertex or Cho or quit the game or a tier 1 meme guild or something like that. And it's if people like you stop leaving once a week, losing 1 or 2 of you a week, we'd be in Valencia. And I just started saying that to these people, and I was so tired of it. And we'd find replacements, and people would get, big gear increases. And so that's what we decided as a guild is we take risks. We took risks on people and invested in them, and it paid off, 60% of the time. And it built loyalty. These guys took me in when I was 480 year score. Now I'm 580, and I'm going to stay in Aftershock.
Right.
But to answer the question,
mm-hmm.
I think somebody who is kind of fresh with not too much personality, I think it's going to be harder for me to start a guild to be in top 5 than it would be somebody who's fresh. I think my strength is my relationships with literally every other siege guild in the scene. And so I can probably politic my way into, hey, I just kind of want to sit on a territory. You guys cool with me taking Serendia? Maybe somebody help me out. We scrim for a little bit. I'd be able to work that out very easily. But as far as recruitment and all that, finding officers and, the really hard part, the behind the scenes parts, might be a little more difficult. But I've really grown as a shot caller since Aftershock. And so I'd really look for the opportunity, and Arsha and Xbox proved that. It would be fun to do that again, and that might be a draw, but, who knows?
That's one of the things that bugs me so much, too, is, like, on one hand, I'm mad, like, when I was GM Hex, it was like, it would frustrate me when someone would leave, but at the same time, it frustrated me more that there's no incentive for them to stay. Like, once they get to a point where they're strong enough to go into a guild that actually has payouts and can sit on a castle and have good fights, it's like, why would you stay? I do kind of wish there was some incentive to stay with your guild. Kind of like the NBA, how you get the Supermax contract when you stay with the guild. They need something like that. You get bonus pay if you've been with a guild for a long time or something. I don't know. Because, it's hard, man. It's like literally all these baby guilds are developing players for the strong guilds.
And you have to create loyalty by defining. I think one of the biggest weaknesses of Guildmasters in Black Desert Online that stretches across all platforms and regions is Guildmasters' inability to define what success is. Because people want to win, but there is no winning in the sandbox game. So when you define what your goals are, you make small achievable goals, and you define what success is, and then everybody can have fun in that success, even if the success is failure, right? Even if it's, hey, politics didn't work out this week, we're about to get turbo zerg. Let's see who can top frag. You'll get an extra payout, and but we have to survive 10 minutes. Just make a game out of it. Make it fun. That's what keeps people there. It's a video game, and so my thought process on the Xbox Arsha side was, first, we're a PvP guild. No, I'm sorry. First, we have fun. Second, we're a PvP guild. And so if my shot calling and the fights that we're having aren't fun, then nothing else matters.
Right.
And that's where I have kind of a difference with Sasha and the way that he shot calls and does his PvP and stuff like that is yelling, but the victory is the fun. And that's backwards for me. I want it to be fun. We laugh. Somebody says a bad word in chat or something like that, or farts on the microphone or whatever the case is, and we all have a giggle at it, and then, we focus back up, and we ultimately win the fight. So I feel like, in my opinion, that's a big weakness a lot of these guys have, and that's how you retain. We actually used to have a committee in Aftershock called the Member Retention Committee. And their job was to reach out and make sure everybody felt welcomed and brought into the guild and part of the, are you coming into comms? Do you know about payouts? Are you comfortable with all this stuff? And so, just like anything in business, maintaining a customer is way, way less expensive than getting a new one and training them and all that kind of stuff for an employee or, whatever.
I like this quote. I'm writing it down. There's no winning in a sandbox, and thus TimAllen agrees pay to win can't exist. There is only convenience. There is no winning.
I mean, I would say full pin accessories, full pin armor and weapons with level 20 Caphras. I would say that's winning.
Yeah, right, but now Blackstar is out, and so it's not the WoW treadmill necessarily with, okay, you got all this gear, here's the next level of gear. That's
right,
exactly
it's like
the same.
A little bit different.
Or hey,
but they are stretching it out.
The flip side, here's all this gear, now we're taking it all away, go back to 2004.
Well, they need to, right, exactly. Right. But they need to keep coming out with boss gear, so people buy artisan memories, so you keep needing memory fragments, and you keep needing sharps, and they need to keep the market healthy. In order to do that, new, better crystals and gear and all that stuff needs to continue to come out. And so that's how the business model works, that's how the game works, that's how all these games work, is if you win an MMO, if there's a you win screen, there's no game mode plus, so...
Don't you lose, like an insane amount of durability when you're failing, enchants? Yeah, 20.
Each one, yeah.
I remember somebody in the guild was like, why do you lose so much durability on Blackstar weapons whenever you're enhancing? And somebody was like, because it's a really good weapon. And I was like, no, because they need more artisan memory cells. What do you mean?
Well, I think I don't disagree with you, right? But I think what it does is allows somebody who has a Penzarka like me to be okay with Tet Blackstar.
Right.
Because if you get Tet Blackstar, you basically got a pen.
Yep.
And I look at that and I go, good for you. Good for you. It costs you an arm and a leg like it cost me to get a Pen Zerka. And, I can accept that. But if they just came out with a new weapon where you just get Tet, on a 60 stack like everything else, and hey, it's as good or better than my Pen Zarka, and the opportunity for it to go Pen makes it insanely better, then I'd be pretty upset about that. And this game would be it'd be an obvious cash grab. Where I don't think we're in that situation with the way that they structured Blackstar.
What if someone in your guild, like in mine, a ninja named Alpo, gets Pen Blackstar on his second attempt? Then how do you feel?
That's fine. I mean, that's insane, right? That's fun. That's fun. And that's I know people kind of cringe when you put fun and enhancing together in the same sentence, but that is somebody that's got the balls to do that. Fortune favors the bold, man.
Yeah.
Or destroys them internally.
I'd like to know how many pearls a week are you spending to be succeeding all your Tets on 60 stacks? Because I'm sitting on 3 100s right now, and it is not a good time.
I am a BDO partner, and I know a bunch of I know a bunch of the GM's personal phone numbers. And...
Yo, listen, I don't stream, but this YouTube channel is pretty okay. So, shout out Cacao, hit me up, baby.
1-800 I need RNG.
Yeah, right.
Well, no, that's another thing that got me back into PC is I blew up my armor and my awakening weapon in my offhand, and I got my awakening weapon back on like a 99 stack or something like that, just so I could like go hit stuff and see if I really wanted to come back. And then I got my Nuver back to Tet, and it shit out like 3. It shit out 3 60 or 70 stacks trying to get it back to Tet. And then I think I one-tapped all of those Tets for my armor to get back to Tet. It was a really fun enhancement session that cost about $150, but I got it all back. And so, I got it all back at once. Feels good. And
you're main striker now? Or was it?
Wizard. No striker for me.
No more striker.
No striker for me.
How was your experience on striker? Do tell.
You're fucking kidding me, right? Isn't this like the one thing I told you I didn't want to talk about is striker? I'm kidding. Ultimately, I couldn't figure the class. I had a really good handle on the 1v1 mechanics of the class. But when they started taking away the DP and all the really bad holes that they have in their kit, like Nimbus Strike, it loses its super armor the second you hit the ground. And then falling out of the sky when you twist a collision, like that shit just boiled my fucking blood. I hated it. And then the slide for mass destruction is just so goddamn long when you're trying to maintain a super armor chain in large scale. So I don't know where the fuck I'm supposed to be on a striker besides like surprise motherfucker leg drop kind of thing. And I just didn't have the AP for that. If you had 281 AP, back when I was playing striker, you'd blow some kids up. But with my 261 or whatever I had, and the PvE was so bad. So I just couldn't figure it out. So once they started taking away magic DP from us, I'm like, I'm fucking out. I'm just going to go play Witcher Wizard.
So you plan on, once they keep buffing Striker's PvE, you gonna reroll back?
The only reroll I would consider is if they came out with the full skill EXP swap coupons again, I'd probably go to Witch.
Really?
Oh, yeah?
It's a better class top to bottom, and them buffing buffing Voltaic and Thunderstorm is fucking stupid.
Yeah, that was questionable.
And then Chilling Wave can never be Yoke of Ordeal because Gore Roll goes behind the target, right?
Right.
And so that's where all that extra damage comes from. So Chilling Wave can never be that. Voltaic, it already does more damage and has a way faster cast time.
Yeah.
And so if I'm 270, the only thing I'd miss, and I think I play this pretty well with Wizard, is Sage's Rage, the Rabam Fireball. If you can skirt around the outsides of a fight, in an RBF. When I stream today, watch me RBF, and I really just Meteor, Sage's Rage, and then if it looks good, if I get 2 or 3 knockdowns, double teleport, Cataclysm, Bolide of Destruction. Being able to kind of set that up for other people or yourselves is something that makes Wizard kind of a patient class. You know what I mean? Like it's got its own benefits and it's stuff I really like. And Wizard used to grind better than Witch, but I don't know if that's the case anymore.
Yeah. One of the things, when we had Jackie Felix on, I mentioned one of the things that maybe could help Chilling Wave be on par with Gore Roll is like, so you know how Arn, the spirit, it like gets in front of you and it shoots out, right? What if it was like Arn spawned at the end of Chilling Wave and shot backwards towards you? So your damage was going forward and her was going backwards.
Because Gore Roll is like half and half, right?
Right.
And so if you just had, if you just pincered somebody with a skill, I think that'd be too OP, or they'd have to turn. It'd be too OP.
Well, you could adjust it as needed, right? But I was trying to think of something that could help it.
Basically be unblockable, you know? I don't think unblockable is necessarily fair, but I think they just should have Arn, you know, roll around like an asshole, just like Gore. just
around.
That's funny.
It could be like a slip and slide. She just goes like flying down it.
Now we're thinking. Get a pad and pen down. Let's write this shit down.
Are you gonna try out Shy?
Nah, I don't care about support class.
What? What about that cool weapon? She beats people over the head with a banjo.
I could not give a shit about Shy. I have no interest in it whatsoever. The only thing that really interests me is, and Sasha talks about this on his stream, and we talked about it a few times, is maybe it frees up Witch Wizard to be more of a damage-focused class, and they start kind of giving, instead of everybody in Black Desert Online being a DPS role, maybe they actually start giving some identity to these classes in PvP, where we're not just, you know, heal, Jin heal, solo heal, PA, you know, all these kind of buffs and stuff like that. You know, maybe they turn Wizard into just like, it doesn't have any buffs, but man, they just up their damage by 25% or something like that. They don't have heal anymore. They don't have PA anymore.
Let me pitch this idea to you.
There we go.
It's been this thing. Frosty's probably tired of hearing it.
It's just never going to happen. That's why.
I know it's never going to happen, but I'm going to keep shilling it until the day I die, damn it. Okay. Picture this, Tim. So you know how you have your passives at the bottom of your skill tree, right?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if there were like two trees at the bottom, two passive trees at the bottom of every class. And essentially, when you take one of them, it locks you out of the other one. And these trees, like...
Specializations.
Yes, these trees drastically change how the class functions. So my example that I gave a while back was for Berserker. And essentially, you could choose either, like, you take this passive tree that like maybe gives you more health, more DR, more evasion. It could even lock out certain skills or give you access to new skills, something like that. Or you could choose this other tree where it gave you like more AP, but it like take away some of your health, like stuff like that to make it to where not everybody is just in the same boat, you know?
Well, yeah. So you're getting dangerously close to a good idea. But you're addressing a problem in the game in that it's the homogenization of gear, right? Where does it really matter if you take Muskins over Urgons, right? Unless you're dedicating yourself to a full evasion build or a full DR build, as long as you have those numbers, that's all that really matters. And for most of us, that's fun enough, right? Like we just get the numbers, we're more powerful. But ultimately, Renown never really got removed. And the way that things get kind of shuffled around and homogenized is that I think maybe the execution of your idea isn't perfect, but you're onto something where...
Well, no, that's just like a rough draft, basically.
Right, exactly. Sacrifice this so you can be more of that.
Exactly.
Yep. And they try to do it with gear, but it just... For whatever reason, to me, it just doesn't quite feel right. You know, it doesn't feel like there should be a free way to do it, not just, well, time to get Sissel's necklace and a Centaur's belt to pen instead of, you know, the thing that I already have. I feel like you should be able to specialize outside of gear at least a little bit.
Right. Yeah, that's the idea. And like I said, it's just like a rough idea. Like obviously I don't have exact numbers or, you know, anything like that, but like just allowing the classes to, like you said, specialize in what they want to do, right? So if you're a Berserker, you can choose whether you want to be a tank Berserker or a DPS Berserker. If you're a Wizard, you can choose whether you want to be a DPS Wizard or a supportive Wizard.
Right, yeah.
those different types of things. You could even apply it to Shy. Like, you could give Shy, like, do you want to be like an offensive support where it's all about like debuffs and CCs and stuff like that? Or do you want to be a defensive support where you're all about like buffs for your team and heals and stuff like that? You know what I'm saying?
And I think World of Warcraft was really, really smart with having different specializations. You can be a tank druid, you can be a healing druid, you can be a damage druid. You want to play druid, you can play druid. How do you want to play druid? That's how you want to play druid? Good for you. Here you go. Here's what you need. And so I don't know if that really fits in a game like this, but having, again, you know, like where the Z buff is or something, you pick, you know, instead of locking one, you've got two different, maybe it's just a buff where you lose 50 DP and you gain 25 AP for 5 minutes. You know, and it's a 5-minute cooldown, and you have two that you can choose, and maybe be situational or something like that. I think that would work in concert with kind of the fringe gear, the DP gear, or the accuracy gear that's out there, and to create some better rock paper scissors. Yeah, I think it's a really good idea, actually.
Yeah. Also, another thing, I didn't write this down because it's just kind of like, apparently this is just a thing we do with every guest now, because I just like hearing people's thoughts on it and stuff like that. Let's talk a tiny bit about PA, protected area, not Pearl Abyss, protected area. What are, kind of give me your rough thoughts on PA. Should it change? Is it necessary? Like, what are your thoughts on it?
I don't know. What do you think this game would look like without PA? You know, that's
if they changed literally nothing else, it would look kind of bad.
Yeah. I think it shouldn't be nearly as powerful as it is. I think it should be way, way, way less DP and have a considerably longer duration to it. Yeah. I think if it was 100 DP for 15 seconds, I think that'd be fine. Or maybe even just 50. You know, just something where you don't get blasted by that 290 AP ninja. You know, just enough to kind of keep you alive. But if you get focused by a group, you're still dead. And we're kind of getting to that AP bracket now. I think a lot of these decisions, I think the developer of this game obviously is a fucking genius. Just a madman locked in a closet that just shits out a beautiful image of a gorgeous MMO. But it's taken a while for some of this guy's ideas to come to fruition. And this is just like my own fantasy of how this game looks, because protected area made no fucking sense when we all had 200 AP. But now that we have 280 AP and stuff, and we're working towards 300 AP, protected area, you still die in a PA push, man. You know?
Yeah. And
you know, and we're just starting to get to that point. So I'd like to see it tuned down. I think since day one, it's been completely overtuned. I remember the days when we really didn't know what protective area was, and there was no PA pushes. But now that everything's kind of hyper-organized and stuff like that, I think if we took substantial amount of the DP out of it and up the duration considerably, I think it would make more sense. You know, it'd be more stable. So you know, the PA baiting and stuff like that, it's not really fun. You know, it is, but it's not.
Yeah, so over the course of the past couple months where we've been talking about PA, there's been a couple interesting ideas that we've heard or we've come up with or whatever. Let me throw a couple of them at you. Sure. One really interesting idea, it has a lot of downsides, but I think it is very interesting, is the idea to have PA be an actual area. So whenever they cast PA, which a wizard cast PA, you see that it casts a little bubble for the animation.
No, that's fucking stupid.
Why? Why is it stupid? I think it's kind of cool. It's the
dumbest fucking idea I've ever heard in my life.
It's like Blade and Soul Force Masters PA.
That doesn't work in this game. This game's about movement. This game's about mobility. This game's not about standing there. There's so rare of a time. Okay, there's front lines to a fight, right? And one of the oldest things you do in a PvP game is you fight on corpses, right? So you see somebody die next to you, in front of you, then you need to shift your body up into that so you can hold the line. And so I could see a skill that could give a buff in an area on the ground, but that's not what if you just took PA from casting on people to being a spot on the ground, it would make it so much fucking worse.
Fair enough. I can kind of see where you're coming from with that. Yeah. Another thing is, I think I said this 2 weeks ago, is have have it give less DP for higher DP people. So it essentially like normalizes DP a little bit, and the overall like highest amount of DP you would be at would be like significantly lower. It wouldn't be at 1,000. It would be like, you know, like 500 or something like that.
What if it was just a personal skill for Witch Wizard? And it didn't cast on other people.
I hate this idea, the one you just said, Rezlar, just because it punishes people for gearing up, which makes no sense.
I don't know if it does, though. It makes it...
it does. It literally just equalizes gear for no reason.
Yeah, I don't like that idea either. I think that's even worse than the putting it on the ground.
Okay.
You have any good ideas, or are you just wasting time?
No, man. They're all bad.
No, they're all bad. They're about PA. They can't be good.
Yeah, the thing is like PA is such an integral part of the game. It's so hard to like change it in a way that like makes sense and is also like legitimately a good like way. You know what I'm saying?
I think
you touch PA at all, and it changes fucking everything.
Exactly.
In this game. I think they're scared.
The problem is that no one's willing to admit is that the way Pearl Abyss did PA is perfect, and we need to accept it.
You need to.
I don't know about perfect, but I mean,
it could not be improved further. It's absolute perfect.
I do think that like I do think that maybe Tim had the best suggestion where you lower the DP it gives a little bit, but you extend the duration. Even like I don't know, like the idea of a personal PA is something Frosty said for a long time, that maybe everybody gets their own personal PA, like not just Witch and Wizard, and it works like V basically.
I think just certain classes. I don't want to see a Zerker with a personal PA at all for any reason.
My thing with the PA, while I do like Tim's idea, I do still think like overall toughness of everyone would just need to be increased, because the problem is, all right, so everyone, the CC changes all happen. There's now a CC limit because people hated being locked down for 20 seconds in a combo or 15 seconds or whatever. But what's worse than being locked down is being dead. And right now, you already die super fast. So if you lower the DP, you're just going to be looking at a resurrection screen for an entire Node War siege, and it's freaking awful. Like, I don't know what the problem would be increasing the DP of everyone, like just the base DP of everyone by, I don't even know what percent, but just a small amount. So that way fights just last a little bit longer.
Well, now you're talking about time to kill, which is actually something that Cacao Games has been probing the partners about. And Huntler is actually, not surprisingly, vehemently against longer time to kill. But in the experiences I've had with hardcore, full loot PvP, skill-based PvP games, and even just like games like League of Legends and stuff, you don't want to... Time to kill is important. Right now, I don't want to kill somebody with Cataclysm Bolide. That's not fun. It's satisfying, but it's not fun, right? Double teleport, Cataclysm Bolide, 3 people dead. That sucks. What I want to do is catch them with Water Sphere, another follow-up skill, reposition, then do a combo, and maybe they survive if they have a little bit of gear. And so, you know, when a ninja just comes up behind me and I die in the middle of their second skill, 1.5 skilled, that's not fun. That doesn't take skill.
Do you don't like dying in a Serpent Ascension?
Right. It's stupid. And so, when I was on my striker, I was a little more tanky and the AP was a little bit lower, and there was a chance that, where the grass comes out of the ground is kind of the last skill that they use for the combo. There was a chance I'd walk away with 50 to 200 AP unless it was fighting like Cooler or something like that. And I thought that was great. They had to get their whole combo off. And so when I fought a bad ninja, I could punish them. I could bait them in, eat some of their damage on super armor, and then do like a risky somersault or something. I caught so many ninjas doing Rage Hammer somersault. I can't even tell you. And so...
yeah.
But now they all have 280 AP, and it's dying in the middle of Serpent Ascension, like you said. It's not fun. So time to kill needs to be extended, but you don't need to have a ninja do 2 full combos on you to kill you, because then you're unkillable. Because you do have CC caps, you do have a large scale focus, and so finding the right balance of time to kill is difficult. I don't think they should have removed Renown. I think they should have tweaked it. Because I think as you gain more AP, you should gain more DP and AP, because it allows them to be able to balance things out. So we don't have this one-shot meta. But some people like a one-shot meta. But I think when you're focused on large scale, it's going to be a one-shot meta. Focus fire this area, those people get deleted.
Right.
But if everybody's one-shotting and you focus fire that area even harder, I mean, that's why you need PA. But then the entire game's focus is protected area. So it makes like RBF really weird, right? Like RBF is weird when you fight it. It's fun because it's not organized, but if you organized RBF, it'd just be kind of weird. So I don't know. I'm rambling a little bit, but time to kill is really important, and I think they're taking a look at it because it's definitely too low.
I do think there's honestly like one of the most fun things that ever happens in this game, aside from like successful difficult enchants, is whenever you're trying to kill somebody and in the back of your head you're like, oh fuck, he's actually not going to go down at the end of this combo, and right when you see them getting up, like you do like the last move that you were going to do before you got out of dodge and it ended up killing them, like just in time.
Yeah.
Like you didn't two-shot them, you didn't grapple them in Serpent Ascension and they died, or Shadow Stomp in Serpent Ascension and they died. Like, you just barely were able to make it in time. Like, that is some of the most satisfying and fun gameplay I've ever experienced in this game, honestly.
Yep, agreed.
Well, we kind of got off track.
I like when I die on the initial float.
You should put armor on.
I did have one more suggestion I wanted to throw at you, Tim. You'll probably hate this one too, just because you're out to get me. What if PA, instead of increasing your allies' defense, what if it was an offensive skill and you used it to reduce your enemy's AP?
I think instead of doing that, they should come out with a Necromancer class.
Yes.
They need a debuff, kind of like a... I talk about the Enchanter or Enchantress from EverQuest, where they were focused on buffing their own teammates, a little bit of CC, and debuffs. Like, I'd love to play a class like that.
Yeah, that'd be really fun.
I'd love to play a class like that. So well, I think you're onto something there, but I don't think that's what you turn PA into.
Too bad, because the next class is a Rudum with a scimitar.
Is it really?
Stupid. No.
Okay.
The scimitar thing's different, but yeah. Dude, a Necro would be awesome, but you can't have Raising the Dead. I mean, it could be in skill animations, but you can't. Can you imagine 100-man where there's 15 Necromancers that all have 15 raised skeletons? The fucking lag.
Well, I mean, we already have Witch and Wizard paths, so
Yeah.
which are yeah, I know those bother me too.
Speaking of Raising the Dead, I meant to ask this earlier, but I forgot. Do you guys think the game has been better or worse after the removal of medkits and Siege and stuff?
Oh god, so much better.
A lot better. Dude, all medkits did is benefit the already stronger guild by making it so their push never, ever, ever died, even if you killed some people. I hated medkits. Also, the mechanic of it was kind of awful. Also, I love that so many people didn't know on WizWitch how to use Resurrection. They'd all put it on their hotbar and they're just pressing a button it's not rezzing you. I have you targeted.
That shit was so funny, dude. It was basically a gamble whether the Resurrection was going to work or not.
What do you think? Do you miss medkits?
I don't know. There's a part of me that thinks maybe they didn't need to remove them altogether and maybe just change them to where they still had a use, but it wasn't, like you guys said, it was super oppressive. It was just annoying as shit. I always thought, I never thought about when we had medkits, I never thought about removing them. I always thought that, it's just stupid how when you get rezzed by a medkit, you can use a medkit. You shouldn't be able to do that. That's kind of stupid. I think medkits, I won't say they were fine, but I always thought of trying to think of a way that made them, fix them without removing them altogether. Because I think that they were, I don't know, it was just another part of large scale that you had to account for. It added another axis to the game, I don't know.
Yeah, it's just that the problem again, if, let's say if we're in a 1v1, and the person we're against is slightly stronger, but we can out-strategize them by all right, let's hit their push on the way to our base, and then when we res up, they're going to get to our base, but be whittled down, except now they have their full army again.
Right.
And they literally get to ignore respawn timers while you don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was like, yeah, it just
Which is like the biggest thing about today is like, because a while back, they increased siege timers, right? So now now it's baseline like 1 minute, which that wasn't the case back in the day. It used to be like 20 seconds when you, at the beginning of Siege, when you had full recos and shit like that. It was like a node war. So it's like in today's Siege, medkits would be the fucking worst. Like, you're sitting there waiting for 2 minutes to res, and they got a full thing on your fucking base, you know?
Medkits were basically a flag of determination and a spawn time cutter at the same time that you just carried in your inventory. So, you know, not to beat a dead horse, but incredibly oppressive.
Yeah.
And Rez, if they ever send you a survey for your feedback on the game, please don't fucking fill it out.
yes, dude, because he wants this game to be World of Warcraft or EverQuest. He doesn't like BDO is the problem.
I don't. I think the only way that I want this game to be like World of Warcraft or EverQuest is I think that this game actually would benefit from becoming a Trinity type game.
Oh, Jesus.
That's literally it.
Oh,
I think there's aspects. I think they try too hard to stay away from World of Warcraft and EverQuest. You know, like the Necromancer idea, or, you know, maybe having a little bit more specialization. But if they, you know, let's say that the exact amount of World of Warcraft that they need to put into this game is like 4%, and they put 4.1%, everybody's gonna freak the fuck out. So
I think everybody would freak out anyway, honestly.
Well, I mean, not like tab targeting or anything like that, but just a little additions, you know, things that would kind of augment what's already here.
Yeah.
I think there's something that, you know, we can not have to pretend, you know, Korea can acknowledge that those games were successful and have things that made it fun and versatile and stuff like that, besides just paying $30 to reroll your coupon, to reroll your weapon to a different class. You know, you can make, you know, again, we talked about that a lot. You can make each class just a little bit more versatile. So
yeah, exactly.
I have an overall. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I have an overall general question on the game. So when you left to Xbox, like right at that time, I think Central Market was pretty new, right? Like it maybe.
Yeah, it actually came out on Xbox Beta first, and then it was released right about the same time.
Right. So since then, and you've come back, we have this Black Spirit Locker. We have a bunch of new grind spots. We have the Central Market. We have Dark Rifts. They have this new daily Calpheon quest, like all sorts of shit. And I don't know. It's like it comes out like so rapidly, but overall, like with all that new shit, do you like the direction the game's going? Is it better today than it was like before? Like, what are your kind of thoughts?
Yeah. So Dark Rifts were terrible when they came out because it just ruined the market, right?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't, you couldn't grind. And so I think making Cronstones, you know, the likely outcome of it, but still being able to get a prior duo Ogre Ring, so it's still worth doing and a nice little extra chunk of change is great. But, I mean, they ruined the market for so long. But now that the Central Market is kind of stabilized and they fixed Dark Rifts and the loot system and stuff like that, I think I have a conspiracy theory that the Shadow Arena was taking up so much time that it pushed back a lot of content. And so that's why we're kind of seeing this now. I feel like they're like, hey, we have this really great idea, and it was a cool idea, but ultimately they couldn't make it work for security reasons, right? So now they're like, all right, back to the game, you know, and it's pretty nice because we were neglected for a little while. So I've been buying stuff, and I've been like really hustling some money and really, really working the Central Market lately. And now that it's matured and stabilized, there's opportunities that literally sit on the market to make money, you know, and there's things people aren't doing or forgot about, you know, that I'm capitalizing off right now. And that's a big part of any game for me is the market. You know, when it was based on RNG, it had to do a CAPTCHA code to buy a piece of gear. It was dog shit, you know, but if 1,000 people want a tree spirit armor at a certain level, it's up to RNG, you know, it's not first come, first serve. It's just like, let's see who gets it. And I like that. You just leave the money there. You can have many pre-orders as you want. I think the Central Market scared the shit out of me in the beginning, but now you can buy logs, you know, you could never buy logs before. And it creates access to things where it's like, well, fuck, I got to go cut trees now. And it goes, well, it's not really worth it to me. I got 20 billion in the bank. I'm just going to buy these fucking logs so I can make my boat. And so it's made the game easier if you want it to be, or more accessible. You don't have to waste time doing things. It made it more fun because you don't have to waste time doing other things. As far as the new grind spots and stuff, it's opened up the map a little bit. So it's a little less contested, which I think, if you want to go to Ursha and get your PvP at your grind spot, you can definitely do that. But I think majority of the players in this game want to grind, unless they're on Ursha. And so for us to be able to go, hey, Balanos 3, gonna go over to trees. Oh shit, somebody's there. Let me channel swap. Balanos 4. Hey, nobody's here. Great. And then you don't get fucked with for like 6 hours. And the culture is, somebody walks up and go, hey, are you done with this grind spot or duel for grind spot? I don't want to get into the duel for grind spot conversation, by the way. But, there's a little bit of etiquette to it. It's not just a bunch of apes dragging their knuckles across the ground and fighting all the time. And there is a server for that if you'd like to do it. So I like that it's opening up. I like that there's a couple of 40 to 100 mil an hour grind spots that are coming out and being viable and stuff. And so I think the direction of the game is going in a very good direction. It's becoming more fun. This game has weekly updates and stuff. Like when you play World of Warcraft, since we've been bringing that up so much, your expansion is your content for the most part, for the year. You get a couple new raids or something, but then you're kind of left alone for 6 to 8 months while, all the idiots try to figure out how to kill Naxxramas.
Dude,
so that sucks.
That's one of like the most underrated things in this game is how much shit comes out literally on a weekly basis, even if it's just like minor fixes or changes. But like that patch list change log weekly is actually kind of insane.
Yeah. Yep. Unless your expansion is your content, unless you're Battle for Azeroth, and then nobody gives a fuck, and they have to fix the shit halfway through. Yeah, that's been pretty funny. So
I think they're striking a good balance in a couple different ways, and pushing us further in gear. I think they just have to consider time to kill. I think that's the next highest thing on my list for this game is addressing time to kill and making sure it's exactly what it should be. And they're going to continue to come out with new classes in this game. So, I like seeing that they came out with Shy, even though I'm personally extremely disinterested in it to play it. I like that they're doing something different. We can't just keep, you can't just have like weeb classes or something. How many dagger holding guys or ninjas or, wizards or mages can you have? You got to start getting creative in these very obvious setup classes that have been staples in other games, like blood mages. You don't see a lot of them, but they're around, so start getting creative, start creating some new mechanics that we have to work around, which is what Shy's doing.
Yeah. Okay, just start stealing ideas from Terra.
Except the donkey idea, dude.
Dude, the donkey idea is the best. What do you mean?
I don't understand. I mean, I guess we have to wait and see what they end up doing, but I just don't understand for someone that wants to main Shy, which there's going to be a lot of people, because people like the idea of support class. I've talked to a lot of people that are excited about it, but some of them have T9s that they literally can't use.
Yeah, that should, yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's super
That
weird.
should probably be the one exception, I think. Like, if you have a T9, you should be able to use that fucking T9. You worked your ass off for that shit.
I get what they're doing, right? Because the horse training thing, especially in the beginning of the release of this game, was a draw to it. A lot of people, especially on like GameSpot and stuff, when they reviewed this, they're like, "I'm gonna be the #1 horse trainer," and that brings a lot of interest into this game and breeding horses, and it's good money and all that stuff, and they've kept that balanced. But where are you gonna go outside of a tier 9? I feel like there isn't gonna be a tier 10. I could definitely be wrong, but we're gonna keep getting different kind of tier 9 horses, and so it's kind of a stale ending to horse training. So they want to bring out different variety for horse training, I think. But the way that they're going about it probably isn't right. Because, exactly, I'm not going to play Shy and leave my Pegasus behind. Not a chance.
Hey.
No way. I'm going to have to train some new fucking donkey or something. No.
What's the next T9, Tim? Is it the seahorse?
Dude, the seahorse, I'm telling you, with all the new ocean stuff, that would be so... Dude, it can literally like just swim underwater fast. You just go into the water, submerge, and it just keeps going at full speed. That'd be
Horses
so much fun.
is another thing. I could give a hot fuck about. I got my Pegasus on a 5 fail stack because I do a lot of farming, and I just threw that in there with some crons and was like, YOLO, stream content, and got it on a 5 stack. And I'm like, well, I never have to worry about a horse again. It's like a top 1% Pegasus too. It's amazing.
Oh yeah,
I got
man.
super lucky. It's like 161 Excel.
So you had no interest in the Doom Horse?
No, absolutely not.
That's too bad. The Doom Horse is calling your name.
Yeah, man. I
got a really fast Pegasus.
You could be a horse wizard, a Doom Horse wizard.
Yeah, dude.
Imagine charging someone, knocking them down, and then hitting them with the flames while casting Meteor on them.
Yeah, it does sound like fun, but
you do that on a Pegasus too, though.
I don't want to go through the process.
We got like hella off track, but I did want to ask you about Vertex. Where do you think Vertex is in terms of like a strength right now compared to like other siege guilds?
Just completely dead. It's a
Really?
husk of a guild. Yeah.
I mean, I know it wasn't what it was, but you don't think it?
No. It's a meme. It's a meme.
Oh, okay. All right, gotcha. I was gonna
I
say
was wondering. I was like, wait, what?
I was like, yeah, you had me for a second. I was like, I don't.
Wow. Okay, Tim. Jeez.
Yeah, I was gonna say like it's got to be somewhere near like where haste is at, right? In strength, or am I crazy?
We still have some organizational. I think Vertex could go either way at this point. They're either going to make it relatively soon, or it's going to fall apart. And that's the real answer. I think there's some organizational things, and just the way that the siege scene is right now. Vertex members don't want to be on Balanos. I'll say that for sure. Your average Vertex member is like, what? Like, we love PvP. We want a PvP. But we're all just kind of cool hanging out with each other, too. So, I think we need a little bit more strength, to really kind of play in that castle arena a little more stably. And then we're doing some stuff for our organization and shot calling and stuff that should improve there too. So there's a lot of potential here. But I think we'll know within the next month, what Vertex is going to be. Dead or alive.
Yeah. It's a pretty strange situation that Vertex is in. Coming from like being like the number 2, or you could argue number 1, I guess, guild. And then completely dying, leadership leaves, new leadership takes over and is trying to like come back or whatever. Very similar, almost exactly the same actually as Man Up when you think about it.
No, it has no resemblance to what Man Up did in any way, shape, or form.
You don't think so?
That started with Hands trying to grab clout from Lucari or whatever, right? And so he was GMing it, and we all know. We all have seen what Hands has done in this game time and time again. Obviously not a Hands fan, right? So the version of Man Up that we have now with Zephyr running it makes a way better analogy. But the origin of Man Up and Hands running it was stupid. It was stupid. Yeah. And so what you have here is you've got these long-term members that were either officers, core, or already leadership have kind of just gone, hey, I've got time. I want to keep this going. I don't want to go to Cho Nation or BR or Snake or anything. I want to keep Vertex going. And there was just enough of them to keep it alive. And with the Merc system, maintaining I'm not saying that Mercs are carrying Vertex or anything like that, but if attendance is light, we can definitely bring in some mercs to help that stopgap that, every single guild always has. So it's easier nowadays to kind of be a guild to rebuild and still stay competitive, where, in the Aftershock days, if I had 85 people or 82 people max in the guild, I was looking real bad for Saturday. And we can have 82 people in the guild after a mass cut or something like that and still show up at 90, 95, or 100. So there's the growing pains and rebuilding process is way easier again than back in the day, but it's not exactly what Man Up did. But now it's a close parallel now. But the officers are doing a good job. The shot callers coming along. We definitely still have some massive powerhouses, and this is the first guild I've really felt comfortable in on PC. Just to frag out and have some fun and all that kind of stuff. And in my kill scores, I've front paged on every single one of our wars so far. So I'm doing pretty well, and I'm getting better. And I feel like I have motivation to practice too. So I'm just camping out in RBF. I can't 1v1 a wet paper bag, but you get me out in RBF and in a node war and stuff like that, I do pretty okay.
You gotta watch some Jackie fucking Felix, man.
Or I could just not 1v1. I did so much 1v1ing on Striker, and I just don't want to do it, especially on a class that's specifically built against 1v1ing.
Yeah. All right, last thing to talk about, Frosty, I know you wanted to talk about the double respawn rate thing that's going on.
Yeah, so there's... All right, let's see. It started 2 weeks ago now, or almost 2 weeks ago, where they just had, in the patch notes, they doubled the respawn rate of like a list of areas, and Achman became kind of insane. I mean, everyone's trash loot went up some like 20-30%. Like you have item choice that got like 11,500 in an hour, which is absurd. But then in the following week, they said that it was an event, and they just didn't mention that it was an event and that it's only temporary. So I don't know. I just am wondering, like, kind of your guys' thoughts on the double respawn rate in the areas that it's been applied to, and if you think it should stay or go or whatever. I guess starting with Achman, but other areas as well. I know, like, Fogans has it right now. Kadri has it. Polyforest. Yeah, Bassy Den. So I guess we could start with you, Tim. Have you grinded in Achman at all since the respawn rate?
Yeah, actually my last stream. So what I've decided to do, that's been a big part of my money-making process to get this Vel's Heart, and what I've been focused on. And what I decided to do was actually take the elite rotation, that has a little bit of water in it or whatever, the one with the most amount of chance to get black shards and straight drops. And so I'm not getting 10,000 an hour. I also don't think I have the gear to do that.
Right.
So I'm kind of just taking a weird room. Well, I'm not taking a weird room now. I'm taking the elite rotation. So I'm trying to bank on those straight drops and black shards. So I grinded for 8 hours, I think, on my last stream. What was that, Thursday? And I pulled 1 straight drop and 1 black shard, which is pretty good, like 3 or 4 red shards or whatever. And I averaged about 6,200 trash per hour. And I probably could have gotten pretty close to 7,000 if I didn't fatigue and get drunk. So, my wrist was killing me pretty good. I was trying hard, and it was good content. It was fun to try to race myself and gauge the loot and all that stuff. But, if you're doing the elite rotation with 7,000 trash or even 6,500, I was really happy with that. And I got 130 scrolls or something. So, I kind of killed it. I have a big thought about it because I've never really, while I'm streaming up, I really want to focus on chat and being interactive and stuff like that. But I had a really good time sweating over trash loot. So I think it's a good thing because it makes more of the rooms viable. And it makes grinding just a little bit more fun, gets people out there away from processing, etc. It's a good catch-up mechanic, too, to have places like Polyforest and Fogans to have that respawn rate. Those aren't money-making opportunity. Maybe Polyforest is now. I haven't tried it personally, but, Fogans is definitely a catch-up mechanic, not a money-making opportunity.
Polyforest is actually pretty damn good for money. So, I was putting in a lot of hours over the past couple days at Polyforest to see just how good it was. Mm-hmm. Basically, my final conclusion is it's somewhere between Gahaz and Manschwams, closer to Manschwams than Gahaz, honestly.
And I think the game needs something like that because there's a large gap in money between Gahaz and Mansions.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like you guys need to go spend some time at Gahaz again. Gahaz is actually crazy money.
All right, Shaky Bay, take it easy.
It's just not I don't know. It is good money, and it's good money at a low AP, which is good for newer players or like people trying to catch up or whatever. But I do think that Polys does beat it. It is closer to Manschwams, I think, but at a lower like AP needed, which is nice for new players. Also, being nice for new players is the insane amount of skill points that you get at that place. It is actually crazy.
It's really good.
I have literally no doubt in my mind that if you want a place to go for skill points and also make a good amount of money, there's no better place to go than Polly's Forest. Like, it used to be, if you want to sacrifice your money for skill points, you go to either Soldier's Grave, Crescents, or Polly's Forest. Now you don't even need to sacrifice your money. You'll still make good money there.
Right. That's what's cool about it.
Yeah.
See, I still think
it's crazy.
Gaha's trash is the same, but the scrolls are just they're so much better than Poly. And I like Poly. I'm a huge proponent of Poly, but right now scrolls are 2 mil a pop. And if you loot scroll, like I did a loot scroll at Poly and got 72 mil, but it was off of like, I don't know, 7 Kaffir stones, which boosted it. But with a loot scroll in an hour at Gaha's, you get like 17, 18 scrolls.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That's the trade-off, right?
Kaffir's at Poly is nice.
Kaffir's at Poly is really good. Also, you get quite a bit of the Forest Breaths, the T9 map.
Mm-hmm.
You get quite a bit of those, which those are selling for like 2 mil right now. Also, if you have a Vel's Heart, the life stones that you get are nice. Grind them into the powder for charges.
Oh, yeah.
Really nice if you have a Vel's Heart. Too. So that stuff kind of... It does even out a little bit. Like, you get a lot more scrolls at Gaha's, but you do get the Kaffir's and the horse mats at Poly's. Plus, you get way more SP at Poly's than you get at Gaha's. Like, there's no doubt in my mind about that. The unspoken thing that nobody talks about when it comes to Gaha's that makes Gaha's really good is if you were leveling a fairy, there is no better place to grind than Gaha's.
Yeah.
Like, literally, you get so many, like, little weapons and little armor and stuff like that that you can feed to your fairy to level it up so fast, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah, I need to min-max my tier 4. It's got, like, tier 3 skills on it or something.
Yeah.
You know, I just didn't roll. It rolled well. I have weight and auto-pot, but I definitely want the better auto-pot.
Yeah, for sure. You know what I think the double respawn thing is, Frosty? I really think it's their way of testing what different spots need to be viable.
Yeah, they said that.
Oh, yeah.
They said that in their developer comment thing.
Oh, did they? I didn't see that.
Yep.
Yeah, so
yeah, that's really interesting of you to just kind of come up with that on your own since they fucking said it.
I didn't read that, seriously. I think that's a really, really smart idea, right? Because it's like, you know, if this place doesn't need a buff, then we can figure that out by buffing it for a little bit. Okay, you know, maybe it's a bit too crazy. Now we can bring it back in line, but this other place that did need a buff, and now with the buff, it's almost in line with the place that didn't need a buff. You know, that's a really smart way of doing it, I think, honestly.
You know, in Ackman... Sorry, I just did a Wish Fairy thing. In Ackman... Specifically, you'd have to take up like 3 fucking rooms to get a rotation.
Yeah.
So you go to Ackman and go to, you know, you got top and you got the kind of that main rotation at the bottom or whatever. And then, you know, if you're desperate enough, you could hit the elite rotation, but why not just go to Histria? And so for them to open it up, like if you're in just a small little shitty nothing room on Arsha server, like you're doing fine. Pop a loot scroll and you just hope that nobody walks up to you for an hour.
Yeah, hope that choice doesn't come to take his rotation.
Yeah, well, you know, you find some shitty little off branch of a room, and it'll probably be just fine. You know, it's cool.
They need to. So they removed the Bassi Den one, and I don't know if they're going to do something with it, but they definitely need to keep the double respawn rate at Bassi Den because you could literally just stay in like the 2 good rooms on the upstairs and never go downstairs, and it was actually pretty decent. The other thing is they need to put in Histria, they need to increase the respawn rate by 20% and then put a wall between main and side so badly so those cannot be connected as one rotation in any way. It would literally double the amount of players that could grind in Histria. Because it's so annoying that like one dude is taking up 2 rotations. And for like, I don't know, it drives me nuts. I
don't spend a lot of time in Histria.
I always grind. Like, I know I have the worst etiquette in there. I'll go into Histria and I'll be like, they'll be like, oh, I'm on 5 Elton. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to just go side. Do you prefer main or side? They'll be like, no, I'm doing 5 Elton. I'm like, well, not anymore because I'm here. So do you want main or side? Like, I hate that shit, dude. It's so greedy.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really blame them, though.
No, I know, you want to be optimal, but at the same time, it's still, like, really good money in either side. So I just wish... I don't blame them, but I just wish they would put a wall between it. There's no reason why.
Yeah.
And then Necropolis, dude. I can't get over. Necropolis needs a butt. Like, just literally double the Kaffir Stone drop rate, and Necropolis will be viable.
It's so fun to grind there, but it just isn't worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, why do you need to grind History or Necropolis, Frosty, when you can go to Sacrea and run for your life for an hour?
I'm gonna get it. I'll get it down eventually. I think I need the 269 bracket with Kudum, so I'm like one upgrade away.
Yeah,
That's part of it. I'm not efficient there.
you'll get there eventually, I'm sure. All right, I think that's it. That's everything we wanted to talk about. Frosty, was there anything else that you want to talk about?
No, that's it. Oh, are you in the BSL today, Tim?
No.
You don't do that stuff?
No. Not necessarily on purpose or anything like that. I don't know.
Just not too interested in it?
I really just haven't thought about it.
Yeah, that's fair.
You're missing out, dude.
You're not missing out on much.
You're missing out on getting clapped by Max Team and round
yeah,
one,
that's what I was about to say.
Yeah, okay. I figured it would, be something like that.
It is equalized gear though. They do trial characters now, so I mean, whether that's a plus or a minus for you,
Well, that's what they did at TwitchCon 2018, the 3v3 tournament and stuff. They all had, it was all on the QA server and equalized gear, which I thought was nice.
That situation though was a little fucked up because the tournament wasn't equalized gear. It was like just that was equalized gear, which was kind of like
it was weird, but it was a show
should
match.
Be one
so
or the other.
Like, I mean, it was technically separate from the tournament.
Yeah,
but
it was.
Yeah, it was a weird thing. Either do it all one way or
fun.
not the other way.
Yeah, I think it is better equalized gear. I think it is better with trial characters for sure. Like, there's no doubt in my mind.
Now that there's a solid mechanic to do it,
right?
I think that's where that was born from, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, people were like saying it for so long. Like, why don't we have equalized gear like RBFs or whatever? Like, that's what people were saying for the longest time. Which they kind of did with like the cap RBF or whatever, but nobody fucking uses that shit.
Right.
But yeah, thanks for coming on and hanging out with us, Tim. It was really fun. You want to plug your shit? Tell all the peoples where they can find you at?
Yeah, TimAllen1337 on Twitch, YouTube, and that's my Discord vanity invite link. And if you watch a podcast and enjoy it, consider subscribing, please. That'd be great.
Speaking to Siege podcast, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna try followers only mode today. See if I can't at least get something out of it.
Oh shit! Dude,
I appreciate it, man.
Freak the fuck out.
Well, I mean, there's plenty of other streamers that are only on follower only mode, so I can get away with it. You can click follow, like that's the least you could fucking do. Literally the least.
Yeah.
But this is fun. I did a lot of podcasts when I started my stream up and stuff, and one-on-one interviews, and one of the biggest things I heard was who's going to interview TimAllen. So I've been looking forward to doing something like this. I appreciate you guys putting this content out here. I know a lot of people like to, grind and listen to stuff like this. So keep fighting the good fight.
We got a lot of people who say they listen at work, they listen while they grind, they listen while they gather. I think it's content that people don't know that they like it. People are like, why would I listen to two dudes sit and talk about fucking BDO, but like it's actually, I don't know, it's just kind of chill, but yeah, thanks a lot for coming on, Tim. We really appreciate it. And I'll shoot you an invite link to the Discord if you want to join that. You don't have to, no pressure or anything, but
yeah, no, that sounds great.
All the other, that's where like we hang out a lot of times. We're try and do community nights more. Maybe we'll do some events in the future, so that's more of a plug for the people listening than for you. Join the fucking Discord.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll do what I can, but between streaming, being a dad,
no, absolutely.
Cool.
Frosty, you got anything you want to say to the people?
Yeah, like us, upvote our video. I'm looking into getting this shit on iTunes ASAP. I promise it's going to happen. Thanks to a user. I'll name his name once it's all done. I'll give him some credit. But yeah, if you see the post on Reddit, upvote it, leave a comment. If you have any questions, put it in the YouTube video, and then share it with your friends. Put it on your guild's Discords and stuff. Get the word out there so more people are listening, and that way guests are actually interested in coming on. I think TimAllen wants to come on if he's just talking to us too.
I can't wait to see the Reddit comments on this one.
Yeah, brother.
I'm definitely putting a Reddit post for this one, so it'll be fun. We'll see what happens.
But thanks everybody for listening to the podcast. Make sure to go check out TimAllen at his YouTube and Twitch. There will be links to both of those down in the description below. Make sure to leave a comment. I don't have a question this time, so you guys are free to just jerk off, talk about whatever the fuck you want in the comments section. Please do leave a comment. We enjoy reading comments. We enjoy having the conversation. We don't want to just be talking to a brick wall, you know? It needs to be a conversation. So leave a comment letting us know your thoughts on, you know, all the shit that we talked about today. And yeah, we'll be sure to catch you guys next week. Thanks for listening.
I've got a fun final question. Here we go. For the
Okay,
audience
here we
can
go.
answer
Final
this.
question.
And Tim, you can answer this real quick. Just a real short answer.
Let's
Who's
go.
stronger, Blackrose or Snake?
Oh. You want a quick answer? That's a weird quick
Yeah,
answer.
dude. Who's the stronger guild? Blackrose
Just
or
name the
Snake?
stronger. Don't provide any reasoning whatsoever.
Yeah.
Name the stronger guild. Go.
I think it's pretty even. I think Snake's probably
Oh, what a
I think
cop-out.
I think Snake's probably still stronger. You know, but you have to qualify it with castle, open field, all that kind of stuff. I don't know. It's so close. I think it's really super close. There's probably going to be a fight tonight that's really going to show Blackrose's strength too. So I think Blackrose is really close to being stronger, and they may be. It's close.
All right, let us know in comments what you guys think. Blackrose or Snake?
Yep. Let us know. Type a comment. Blackrose or Snake. Provide your reasoning, and we'll catch you next week. See you later, guys.